What up, everybody? Good morning and happy Thursday. Dan Kasper Show is on the air. Appreciate y'all tuning in however you may be tuning in from on this July 14th. We got July 14th. Yeah, July 14th up there. Hopefully, they're all off to a fantastic start. If you're up and at 'em already here this morning, as we're starting to wrap up the week already here. What do we got on the good old game plan for us here this morning? Well, MLB All-Star break still continuing, but it is the last day. It's the last day of the All-Star break as the quote-unquote second half of the season set to begin starting tomorrow. We know Brewers with the big opening series going up against the Cincinnati Reds on the road. And they'll be on the road again against Philly before coming back to Milwaukee, taking on the Braves, one of the best teams in baseball, and again, the Cincinnati Reds. So, just looking at just double checking. Yes, this will be the last time too that the Brew Crew, not this coming series, but starting fourth that series that they'll be taking on the Reds too. So, if it is going to be a two-team sprint to the finish line for first place in the division. It might, these are going to be a couple of big series as coming up here for the Crew. So we're going to talk some baseball. We'll talk some baseball throughout the morning here. I know MLB.com has their storylines, top storylines to follow in the second half of the season. Nothing that they don't really mention the Brewers. Obviously, the big one out there is Ohtani. Is he going to get traded or not? Is he going to stay with the Angels? But they did. I mean, this kind of would factor into the Brewers. They mentioned the Reds. Will the Reds keep on cruising? They mentioned the 2023 season so far has featured many surprises, perhaps none greater than some of the teams that found themselves in a playoff position at the All-Star break. They mentioned the Orioles, they mentioned the Marlins, they mentioned the Reds too. They'll play on words with De La Cruz on there. But so what would you? So we'll go through these storylines here too. But I mean, I think the biggest one, probably if we were to go with the Brewers, would be like, are they going to make a move before August 1st, right? I mean, or can they sneak into the postseason? Can they get in there this year? Get back to the postseason? And then I would probably add, if we were going to do straight up Brewers storylines to follow in the second half, the return of Brandon Woodruff. What's he going to look like? Will it be the good old Brandon Woodruff? Will Corbin Burns, have a second half of stellar Cy Young type of pitching performances? Can Christian Yelich, perhaps maybe the biggest one, can Christian Yelich either continue what he's been doing so far this year, maybe take it up another step, another notch? Will he fall a little bit? I think that might be one of the biggest ones out there is the play of Christian Yelich in this second half here. And then, you can go with some other players at this, like, will Rowdy Tellez have a better second half? Willie Adames went into the All-Star break playing some really good baseball. Can he pick up where he left off there? Maybe even, be more consistent as, at the plate and such. But there's a few different storylines that we could potentially hit up here for the Brew Crew. Want to take a look at that? So we will hit that up. We might throw a little green and gold chalk in here. So if anybody follows me on Facebook and Twitter, you might have already seen that. So I've played around. If you're on like Facebook and Twitter, you've probably noticed some form of, like, depending on, I don't know what all pages and stuff you follow, but this chat GPT, it's an AI, artificial intelligence thing. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to dabble in this thing. And so you sign up, and what you do is, like, you're asking the computer a question. And you've probably seen a lot of them where they'll have like the top 10 whatever. Like, I think one I just saw was somebody did they asked this artificial intelligence thing, I don't even know how it all works, the top NFL uniforms, and number one was Green Bay, but they listed. Okay. So I played around with it. I was asking random questions and all that sort of stuff. So, I went and asked what is or who is the top five. First, I asked who was the most underrated, but then I asked, top five. Give me a top five. Top five most underrated Packer players of all time. Number one was Sterling Sharp, and part of it was because yesterday the Hall of Fame, the Pro Football Hall of Fame, named their semifinalists for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Sterling Sharp was on there. Mike Holmgren was also on there. Cecil Isbell was also listed on there. So could they potentially get down, maybe get in this year? I don't know. We'll see. But, obviously Sterling Sharp's name has kind of really picked up some steam in the last couple of years, maybe the last few years, in terms of a spot in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. But this AI sort of thing listed Sterling Sharp as the number one most underrated Green Bay Packer of all time. Number two is Bart Starr. Number three was Jerry Kramer. Number four was Leroy Butler. And then number five was Amon Green. Would there be anybody else that you would put in there? And as somebody sent me a message, I don't know if they didn't want to comment on it to be kind of private, remain anonymous, but they threw out the question, can you have the label as underrated, or can you be underrated if you are a Pro Football Hall of Famer? So I'll throw it out to you guys. If you are, and I'm assuming this individual, and again, I won't say name since they sent me a private message, but I'm assuming this individual is referring to that they listed Bart Starr as number two, Jerry Kramer, Hall of Famer, Leroy Butler, Hall of Famer. Can you have the label as, can you say somebody is underrated if they are a Hall of Famer? Now, Butler and Kramer are the, interesting ones here too, because they took a while to get in. Sort of for the longest time, they were underrated, but can you say they're still underrated? But yep, for Bart Starr, he was in the Hall of Fame right away, but is he underrated compared to when you put lists of the greatest quarterbacks of all time? You could probably list that on there. I mean, me personally, I think you can still say somebody is underrated in terms of, maybe all-timers lists, even if they are in the Hall of Fame. But I guess, I'll take that individual's question and throw it out to you, see what everybody has to say. But me personally, I think you can still say somebody is a little bit underrated, even if they do have a Pro Football Hall of Fame or Hall of Fame, if they're in one of those. Because I think, Bart Starr may be a little underrated in terms of when people put together the all-time greats list. Maybe overlooked a little bit. Longest time, Leroy Butler was underrated for some of those safeties getting in there, for crying out loud. So, but that was the list that AI gave me, the top five underrated Packers players. Do you agree with it? Who would you add in there? Sterling Sharp, Bart Starr, Jerry Kramer, Leroy Butler, Amon Green. Who would you add in that top five? So we'll have maybe a little fun with that one coming up a little bit later on. It is Thursday. So we'll do some outdoor tidbits with our good DNR Warden buddy Jake Bulks coming up at about 8:30. So if you have any questions for him, you got to start to hit us up right now on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line with some text at 715-830-1912. Also, we'll do a little receiver defer at 7:45. We'll do a little what's caught my eye. Is there a sports story out there or anything related to sports that's kind of caught your eye that maybe isn't being talked about enough, or in the national sense, or whatever it could be? Is there something out there that's just kind of caught your eye, like, haven't heard that one a whole lot, but it kind of caught my eye. You guys know what caught my eye. So we'll hit that up coming up a little bit later on here this morning. So I'm going to do a little bit of a smorgasbord of topics to open up things here this morning. We'll throw in a little Brewers talk. What are the second half storylines for the Brewers that you will be kind of, or what you think are the big storylines surrounding the Brewers in the second half? I threw out a few examples out there. Is it Christian Yelich? Can he continue to play at the level he did in the first half? Maybe a little bit better. Is it Brandon Woodruff? Is it Corbin Burns? Maybe pitching more at a Cy Young level? Is it, Rowdy Tellez, Willie Adames going in to the All-Star break, playing better baseball? Can he continue that? So I threw out a few examples for you out there. But if you got another one, let us know. All right. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, I guess, if you're on there too, because we're on there. So what are those storylines? And then give me your thoughts on that artificial intelligence list that they gave me. It sounds so weird saying artificial intelligence on there, but if you could add somebody else to that top 5 of most underrated Green Bay Packer players of all time, who would it be? Because there's some. I'm sure there's some. We had a William Henderson pick out there, longtime fullback. So who else would you put on there? Wonder if I asked AI like who they think the worst Packers players of all time are. Maybe I'll do that. Have a little fun with that one. See what they say on there. But let's take that first break, and then we'll get things rolling here this morning on the leadoff. Again, we'll do a little bit of a mixture of topics. We'll throw in some baseball chat. We'll throw in some green and gold chats, all that fun stuff. Join in on the conversation with us. Hit us up with those texts on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line. We'll be right back. Hey, why not stop at the Restore and check out their inventory for yourself? You might even find some building supplies that can help you with your projects, or find that new kitchen table that would look perfect in your home. So if you have something that you would like to donate, or you want to do a little shopping yourself, check out the Chippewa Valley Habitat for Humanity Restore, located at 145 North Claremont Avenue in Eau Claire.
America is kept safe because the Army National Guard responds, protects, and supports our nation when it needs them most. From fighting wildfires with air support, helping civilians in flooded neighborhoods, to delivering food and supplies to those who have lost everything, the Army National Guard always responds when disaster strikes. The Army National Guard also trains to be ever vigilant against threats, foreign and domestic. They protect our skies with missile defense weaponry. They secure our information, communications, and infrastructure with cybersecurity. And they protect us against chemical, biological, and radiological hazards with the civilian support team. The Army National Guard also stands ready to deploy and provide support for conflicts or humanitarian missions abroad. Join the Army National Guard and be there to respond, protect, and support your community and your country. Visit NationalGuard.com to learn more about part-time service. Sponsored by the Wisconsin Army National Guard. Aired by the Wisconsin Broadcasters Association and this station.
The Shoe Doctor is known for quality footwear. Remember, the Shoe Doctor can keep your feet comfortable during all the different outdoor weather and activities here in the Chippewa Valley. Work boots, casual shoes, sandals, and more. From brands you trust like Keen, Merrill, Chaco, and Dansko, and that's just to name a few. Located on Claremont Avenue in Eau Claire, you can also visit them online at ShoeDoctorFootwear.com. The Shoe Doctor, quality footwear for work, sport, and fun.
This update sponsored by UW Credit Union, the local Wisconsin team that's always rooting for you. Every regular season Friday home game at American Family Field, ticketed fans 21 and over who sit in the Miller Lite beer pin in the left field loge bleachers will receive a free Brewers beer pin item, courtesy of Miller Lite. UW Credit Union, here for every you. Join today.
Family owned and operated, Toyson Ford is proud to serve the drivers of the Chippewa Valley with some of the most popular vehicles around Wisconsin and the country. They're committed to giving drivers from across the area the best in customer service with a top-notch selection of brand new vehicles to choose from, as well as an extensive inventory of pre-owned crossover, SUV, and trucks. Plus, with their expert finance, service, and parts centers in-house, they strive to be your one-stop dealership for all of your automotive needs. Visit them today at 1000 Chippewa Crossing Boulevard in Chippewa Falls.
Maybe you miss parts of the Dan Kasper Show because of the clown that lives in the sewer.
You will do.
Don't worry, you can get highlights of the show on the Man Cave Podcast, available on your favorite podcasting platforms.
Coming up next Wednesday, July 19th, we've got the ASAP Used, the third annual ASAP Used Auto Parts Car Show over at the ASAP Used Auto Parts Eau Claire location, just across the street from the Doododge over there on Menominee Street, starting at 5 p.m., going until 8 p.m. So whether you want to show off your vehicle or check out their impressive lineup for yourself and maybe be a little bit jealous of some of those vehicles out there, make sure you stop on by for the third annual ASAP Used Auto Parts car show happening July 19th, starting at 5 p.m. Maybe the intern can take his little convertible with the windows rolled up over there.
That car doesn't get on the road with the windows rolled up.
Take the wiener putter with you, too. They're big
That's
boys.
right.
So when you head into the fair,
Have you tried it yet?
No, I can't.
Oh, that's right. You did something silly.
Yep. So
all right.
I'm out for a couple weeks yet.
I see that. That's too bad. That's too bad.
Going to the fair yet today?
Oh, I was there yesterday, and I was there the day before, and
I know you're a busy guy up there.
I'll be there tonight. They got the meat animal auction. I invite anybody to come up. And I always say this: if anybody's got a small business, and you always wonder what you're going to do for Christmas present for your employees, go up and buy a hog or steer or whatever, and lamb. They're all going to be selling tonight, and have it cut up and give them their Christmas present in August, or, you don't have to wait till Christmas time. You can, anything over and above the price of the meat is advertising. So, they big prices, but they write this stuff off as far as, it's advertising over and above the market price. So I invite you to come up. Everybody's welcome to buy. It doesn't, it's not reserved for any special people, but, if you got a roofing business or a doctor's office or dentist's office or garage where you got multiple workers, I don't think many people would complain about getting a few packages of pork chops or T-bone steaks.
Not at all, man.
For Christmas.
Not at all. So how's the new barns look like up there?
Oh, they're beautiful.
Yeah.
They really did a nice job. And the Custer Coliseum, of course, is the focal point. That's where the show ring is. And a nice, professional, beautiful, modern entrance. But you go in, and for the folks that have been at the fair and know what I'm talking about, I've been at the fair in past years and have been there this year. The show ring and the area where the show is actually being held, the already had the hog show and the beef show, dairy show will be today. But you feel like you're in the old auditorium, the old Coliseum, because it's basically the same layout. It's just that you're wrapped in modern, a modern building.
Yeah.
And they're not done with it yet. One of the things they're doing, a lot of people were lamenting the cutting down of the huge pine trees. I mean, these pine trees had to be 100 years old that were up there. The fair is 125 years old. And these big pine trees they cut down a year or two ago. I mean, they were huge. It took 3 guys pretty much to wrap your arms around them. And they said, what a waste. Well, no, they saved all the wood. They had all the wood slabbed out. So you got all kinds of wood. And that eventually, and they've got a few pieces in there now, that eventually is going to be the walls for the inside of the Custer Coliseum. So they're preserving the history. Those trees did not go to waste. They did not go someplace for whatever. They didn't sell them. they kept them on the grounds, and they are going to be
Repurposed.
repurposed. After, good word, thank you. After the fair is over, they're going to put those above the doors all the way around. So it's going to take a lot of lumber, but there's a lot of lumber in those trees they cut down because unfortunately they were just rotting away. And if you go look at all the stumps are gone now, but I looked at the stumps last year and they were rotting about a good foot through the middle of the tree. So they took them down at the right time, saved all the lumber, and that pine wood is all going to be around the inside of the building. So beautiful job. They did a nice job, and thanks to all those that contributed because it's costly to build nowadays, and so they got it in good shape, and everybody just thinks it's a wonderful addition to the fairgrounds.
Awesome, good deal. Yeah, we're hoping to make our way up there at some point in the next couple days here too.
Yeah, should be good weather the rest of the fair. So yeah, and the sale again starts about 6 o'clock. So get up there early if you are a small business or an individual, and buy that lamb or buy that hog or buy that steer or whatever the case may be.
Absolutely.
6 o'clock auction starts. Register 5:30.
Nice. Should also give a shout out to our good friends from Carpet City Flooring Center because I know they helped redo some of the bathrooms up there too. So
good. Yeah, everybody that helped there. A lot of great sponsors and supporters. Their names are on the wall. So thank you to each and every one of them on behalf of the kids, because as I always like to say, these are good kids doing good things. And it's nice to be able to reward them with some decent. I mean, the barns up there were old. They needed to be replaced. And so, some people say, oh, the traditional fairgrounds, you're not living, you got a bathroom in your house now.
Yeah.
I mean, those bathrooms we had up there in the old Coliseum, they were funky. And so it needed to be done, and they did a nice job. So enjoy it and appreciate it.
Absolutely. So how many years have you been up there doing that now? If they've been up there 125, so
120? Every year since 1977. I've been doing this 46, 47 years up there, and I see some of the kids that I talk to that are now grandparents.
Good memories though, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. A lot of fun. You always run through a lot of. They had I was I was up at the fair. You're at the fair, you're trying to cover things, watch the show, and talk to kids and get results and this, that, and the other thing. Well, Heidi Benson, the 4-H director, had a kind of a scavenger hunt for 4-H kids in the county at the fair yesterday. And they got 1,000 points if they found me and took a picture with me. Them and me, and took a picture. They got 1,000 points. Well, just about the time I was ready to, Bob, can I get a picture? Bob, can we get a picture? So, but it was great fun. So I did enjoy it. Again, awesome. Like I say, good kids doing good things.
That's awesome. So, I don't know, you probably missed it, but so this is what got everybody texting in right away this morning here. I was having a little fun. I'm sure you've heard of the artificial intelligence AI trend that's going on right now, and because you're all up to date on Twitter and Facebook and all
well
that stuff.
Aware of it, you bet.
But like a lot of these people now will like ask artificial intelligence questions or sports questions, and they come up with lists or rankings and all that. So I dabbled in it a little bit yesterday myself, and I asked it. The top first. I asked the most underrated. Then I asked for a top 5, and they kept the number 1 overrated player, or underrated player in Packers history. So I asked their top 5 artificial intelligence, some alien or computer or whatever, who they thought their top 5 most underrated Packer players of all time were. And this sparked already a lot of text coming in here. So number 1, the computers that will be taking over the world here in a few years, said the most underrated Packer of all time is Sterling Sharp.
No, I don't agree with that.
Number 2, Bart Starr.
What?
Number 3, Jerry Kramer. 4, Leroy Butler. 5, Amon Green. Underrated. Most underrated. Would you agree with those?
No.
Why or who would you put on
Well, who is number 1?
Sterling Sharp, I said.
We recognized him. We keep saying that if it wouldn't be for injury, he'd be in the Hall of Fame.
Is it that's Packers fans, but would it be in terms of the national perception? Is he a little underrated? Because he was announced yesterday again as being a semifinalist for the Hall of Fame. I don't know if he'll get in this year, but
I suppose on a national, if you're talking on a national level, he probably would be. Yeah.
The Barts, then, because I was kind of mentioning, somebody had sent me a message. Can you call somebody underrated if they're in the Hall of Fame?
I guess I'm struggling with this because even on a national level, Bart Starr was never, in my mind, underrated.
Mm-hmm.
He led. He was accepted as a great leader, as a leader of men. I mean, he went into what he did to, when he went into Lombardi and said, "Hey, I can't lead these guys. You're going to criticize me."
Mm-hmm.
We all know that story. No, I don't think he's underrated nationally at all.
Mm-hmm.
I think he wasn't one of the greatest quarterbacks per se physically. He's not Tom Brady or Brett Favre or Peyton Manning. No,
Rodgers,
yeah, he just wasn't. But as far as
what was the because you watched him play, obviously.
Oh yeah,
what was the national reception? I mean, I've seen the videos. I've seen him. Like the national. But what was like the national recognition from him while he was playing? Was he?
Oh, he was considered one of the best
mm-hmm.
while he was playing. Absolutely,
because
he was so dependable. He wasn't up. He wasn't down. He was there every game. I mean, you take a look at that one season where they were trying to go undefeated and Detroit really kicked their butts.
Was it 62
on Thanksgiving Day? Yeah, that wasn't his fault.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't block. You can't play quarterback if you don't block. And he just got overwhelmed. Detroit's game plan, that was one of the few times that Lombardi got out-coached, so to speak. I mean, Detroit just ran over him, and they didn't have the answers. That wasn't Starr's fault.
Mm-hmm.
Bart Starr was, one of the greatest leaders of men and a very accomplished quarterback. I don't underrate him at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I don't know. Like, I'd like to know their algorithm, if that's the proper term for that. Are they? I'm assuming they're focusing it more on like a national maybe perspective or something like that. But
and I'm sure you look at the 10 top quarterbacks of all time. Now, what's the context as far as winners or as far as quarterback
like stats or something like
stats? Yeah, then Bart Starr wouldn't fall in there.
Mm-hmm. Like Joe Namath would probably be like one of the worst. I mean,
yeah, exactly. Joe Namath had one good game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he had some good seasons, but he really had one game that called attention to himself, and he delivered.
Mm-hmm.
Bart Starr went on and on and on as a leader of men and a champion. I'll take Bart Starr over a lot of these other quarterbacks that may be considered better quarterbacks, but I'll take Bart Starr every time.
Mm-hmm. We got, I'll go through some of the names that people had sent in. One was a little bit earlier was William Henderson, Lynn Dickey.
Lynn Dickey came to mind. As soon as you said the most underrated Packers of all time, Lynn Dickey popped right into my head right now.
That's who I was, when that list generated, I kind of thought Lynn Dickey was going to be on there, and he wasn't. But I would agree with you. I mean, you look at the numbers that he put up.
Yeah, and you look at, and he's in the Hall of Fame.
Packers Hall of Fame. Or you talk? Oh, no.
Yeah, but another guy, James Lofton.
Oh, yeah.
He's in the NFL Hall of Fame.
Yep.
He was a great receiver with the Packers. Then he went, where did he go, to Buffalo or someplace?
Yep, Buffalo, then the Raiders.
Yeah, and a great receiver. But when you talk about the greatest receivers of all time, he doesn't even get a mention.
Mm-hmm.
Just doesn't.
We got Chuck Cecil.
Great defensive back. Tough kid.
Nick Collins.
Tough kid, too.
Yeah. Probably was on a Pro Football Hall of Fame trajectory if he
hadn't getting hurt.
Wouldn't get hurt. G-Man picked Donald Driver on there.
Yeah,
career receiver.
Donald Driver was a very, very good receiver. I wouldn't call him a great receiver, but he was very, very good. Donald Driver's personality is part of the equation for him, I think.
Well, I mean,
and rightly so.
Yeah, and I don't know if he's still, and this is where I give him credit too. He still embraces Wisconsin, still is involved. He was doing last week, I think it was last week. Is it what lake is that where they jump off the boat to deliver mail and then have to
down
jump?
At Lake Geneva.
Yeah, he was doing that.
Oh, was he really?
Yeah. So I mean, I got to give that guy a lot of credit. He could just stay down in Texas if he wanted to, but he recognized his personality. He recognizes how many people still adore him, and he still does a lot of stuff.
And Wisconsin had an awful lot to do with his success.
Mm-hmm.
Both on the football field and off the football field.
Yep. He doesn't win Dancing with the Stars without Wisconsin.
But that, his revenue stream it starts in Wisconsin.
And I think what, probably helped, and we're not downgrading Donald Driver at all. He's one of my favorite Packer players of all time either. But I think
mine too. I think he had the right attitude. He performed every time he got on the field. No, I'm
But
not downgrading him at
Yeah.
all.
What I think really solidified his stance in Packers fans' minds was him retiring instead of playing for another team.
Yep.
And I mean,
Not many of them do it.
no. And I mean, he even mentioned it. Like, he could have gone to a couple of, but that's where he wanted to hang him up. And
Yeah.
I think that meant a lot for Midwest Wisconsin fans over there.
Jordy Nelson.
Ooh, there's a good one.
Let's face it, our man Rogers owes a lot of his success to Jordy
Mhm.
Nelson, I think.
That's a good one. That's a really good one.
Where is he?
Yeah. Huh.
You know, he doesn't even get a sniff for Hall of Fame or anything like that.
You know, that's a good one. Do you good with Amon Green at number 5 on there? A little underrated. Running backs are kind of a funky thing when it comes to Green Bay, outside of the Paul Hornings and Jim Taylors.
Because of Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers,
Yeah.
it was a forward pass
Mm-hmm.
in that era. And so Amon Green was a very, very good Packer.
John Brockington was somebody texted in.
John Brockington had such a short career because he came in from Ohio State, and I think he still probably has the rookie record for most 1,000 yards to start a season or for how many years. But then all of a sudden, man, he just dropped. He just lost his effectiveness.
Mm-hmm.
So we recognize John Brockington as a great player for, I don't know, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, but then, you know, he went downhill in a hurry.
Mm-hmm. Might be kind of hard for like us to kind of, you know, with these names again, because if they're talking from a national, we know a lot of these players and we kind of recognize them. But it'd be interesting, like, to hear from, you know, from outsiders to say, well, that guy would, you know, I think for your team should be recognized a little bit more here or there, and this, that, and the other thing.
Clay Matthews.
Yeah.
You know, great early career. He had some injuries. I think some coaching decisions affected his career as far as positioning. I think he's underrated for as good as he was for the Packers. You know, a lot of people complain about Clay Matthews, but he was the best we had for a few years over there on the defensive side of the ball. And I don't think the coaches appreciated or understood how to make him even more effective. I think they really, you know, the positions they put him in with the other guys around him weren't good.
He's not a player, and I think Packers,
he was Hall of Fame bound.
You think
early
Clay?
in his career?
Clay?
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, second year he should have won Defensive Player of the Year, but Troy Polamalu won that one.
Yep.
So, hey, talk about an underrated player. Maybe his dad. He's not in the Hall of Fame yet.
Yeah, that's true.
But one Packers person. He's not a player, and I think fans appreciate him in that. But from a national sense, he made it as a semifinalist again. But I think Mike Holmgren gets a little overlooked in a lot of this, not being in the Hall of Fame yet.
I think Holmgren gets overlooked because of that Denver Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And then in Seattle, he kind of got jobbed
with the
of a
Pittsburgh
Super Bowl.
Yeah. I think he should be in the Hall of Fame right now.
Oh, I think he should be too, but I think losing that Super Bowl against Denver when they were such a favorite, he just got out-coached in that game.
Mm-hmm.
And in Pittsburgh, he got jobbed. They should have won that. Seattle should have won that Super Bowl that Pittsburgh won. But I think that's probably the reason he's being held out.
Because, I look at...
he's on the slow track.
No offense to and I'm not knocking all the other coaches that are in it, the Hall of Fame, but like Bill Cowher's in there. Holmgren went to, I think, one more Super Bowl than Bill Cowher. If we're looking at comparable-ish, coaches and such, Bill Cowher's in there. I think Mike Holmgren should be in there. I think Mike Shanahan should be in there at some point.
Shanahan's not in there?
Nope.
Wow.
Nope. He's not in there. Tony Dungy's in there. He's got one Super Bowl win.
But see, Cowher and Dungy, they stayed in front of the nation and the public and the media because they got in the media in some very high-profile time slots.
That's a topic that has been brought up how many times, player-wise too. I mean, how many times we talk about, like, with the Major League Baseball, with the Baseball Hall of Fame. It's all about whether you like them or not. These voters, if they like them or personality or anything like that. I know Randy Moss was like a talking point there too, but he was he should be in the Hall of Fame, but there were some people like, oh, his attitude and all that. Well, maybe did he help his case by going on ESPN? And I don't know if that was after or before.
Yeah.
I don't know off the top of my head. But
that's real. I remember Jim Rice from
Jim
Boston.
Rice is, yes.
He was held out for years because people, he didn't talk to the media. Well, we'll get you.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's not the way to handle your job. It's too important.
I think Mike Holmgren should be in there. I think Mike Shanahan should be in there. Those two guys, I hope.
I didn't know Shanahan wasn't in the Hall of Fame.
Nope. Not in there yet.
Definitely should
that's
be.
That's two Super Bowl rings he has.
Yeah.
In there, and you got guys in there with just one right now.
Yep. So. And how many times did Dungy coach in the Super Bowl?
Dungy coached one.
Yeah. Holmgren got there 3 times.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So I feel like he gets a little underrated from the national, and I think you do have to factor in there is no Brett Favre without Mike Holmgren. There's no Brett Favre without Mike. One of the greatest players of all time. He's not there if it isn't for Mike Holmgren helping develop him. And I get it, injury to Mikowski and all that, and but still, Favre is not Favre without Holmgren, and Favre will tell you that too.
Oh, absolutely. No, Mike Holmgren deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. There's no question about it. I didn't follow it that close. I assume both he and Shanahan were in.
Mm-hmm.
No, that should be done.
Mm-hmm. So, all right. So keep your picks coming. We've gotten a few picks that they must have joined in late, but we've gotten a couple picks saying Sterling Sharp. Well, Sterling Sharp was listed at number 1 on that list. So, but you can keep texting in. We've gotten a couple more Donald drivers on there. We've gotten Lynn Dickey, a couple more picks for Lynn Dickey on that list too. Somebody just did text in, what about Don Mikowski?
No, he didn't play long enough, and he didn't
injuries
have that much success. He went to Detroit and didn't amount to much. So no, nice player, but no, this is
Gilbert Brown, another pick that came in.
Didn't play long enough.
This is a nice role player.
Yeah,
I'd
exactly.
call him a role player on there.
Yep.
So, but Edgar Bennett was one that just came in too.
Yeah, good player for the Packers, but again, you're talking national recognition. No.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So keep those coming. If you want, 715-830-1912.
Brings back a lot of memories having these names come up.
Well, we were yesterday, so because again, I know you're very active on Twitter, but there's a Twitter account that is like they're counting down, or it's called Packers History, but for whatever reason, they're doing Pain Week. So they're like putting up clips of some of the most painful losses. And yesterday was the day before, the Rice fumble that should have been a fumble.
Oh, no question about it.
And it's like I think people are kind of forgetting about that, but that brought back a whole lot of memories on that.
I'll never forget it.
My goodness,
not even questionable. That wasn't even close to. I don't know what the officials were doing. You think about that was so obvious that you don't need replay to do that one. The other one, of course, is when the Saints got jobbed on the sidelines. Remember that? To go to the Super Bowl. Those are things that, those hurt.
Yeah, there was another one, and I remember this, but I was kind of saying I was too young because I think it was a Monday night game. But I remember this game, and I remember some of the I guess call it annoyance from some of the Packers after the game. But it was a Packers-Cowboys game. I remember when the Cowboys 21 points all on field goals. I don't know if you remember that one.
I remember that one.
But it was Switzer was the coach, and he called a timeout for his kicker to be able to tie the record with his 7th field goal. And Reggie White did not like it. And there was the clip I was watching. Him and Michael Irvin were getting into it in the sideline. I'm like, of all people, Michael Irvin to get into an argument with. Reggie was pissed. I don't know how many times we've actually seen Reggie White get upset at something like that, but he was upset at that. And I don't remember watching as a kid. I know it's probably because I had a bedtime. I don't
remember that game at all.
But I remember getting because I used to get a Packer report in the mail back when Ray Nitschke was still, I think, the editor or something like that, writing in it. And on the cover it was that. And I remember there were a lot of upset Packers because of that, calling timeout. Game was already over with, but Switzer called timeout so the kicker could tie the record and get, I think it was a 21-0 victory. There was all field goals on there, but that was that time frame too, where Packers were always, it seemed like they were always going to Dallas, and Dallas had their number.
Yeah, always had to go to Dallas. I mean, the schedule was so lopsided for the Packers going to. Packers play Dallas again this year at Dallas. This year they lead off the season at Dallas. Just seemed so for many years.
And I remember when they finally came to Lambeau, because it was during deer hunting season.
Yeah,
it was a Sunday, I think, of the opener, and I didn't go because I wanted to watch it. And it was cold, and I remember Favre did throw a pick 6 to Dion at Lambeau, but Packers won that one. But everybody, I think, was geeked up about that. It was like, finally, Dallas is coming to cold Green Bay.
Yeah, man.
And Green Bay got that win. So
they did.
But I think that was my first year rifle hunting, too. And I didn't go on Sunday.
With your 30-30 lever action?
30-30 bolt.
Bolt action.
Yep. Okay. No scope.
No scope.
Open sights.
No, that's easier. I had the first time I hunted with a scope, I got a scope. I think I still got the mark above my eyelash where it kicked back. I didn't know how to hold it.
That just happened.
I missed the deer besides.
I think that might have been, or the year before. I don't know. I just remember I didn't go out because I would sit.
First thing more. What about underrated players too? And I'm like Freeman, 86.
Antonio
Freeman. He made that overtime catch against the Vikings. Remember in that game? Yep. He was a great receiver for a long time. He doesn't get much recognition any place. He had a lot of catches and a lot of yards in the years he was with the Packers, and then he moved on and
then he came back.
Yeah,
I think he was with Philly for a year or two. Then he came back. He's still around Green Bay right now.
Yeah. So I think he's kind of underrated as well.
I remember when he broke his arm on that diving catch again. I think it was Chicago. But it made the catch. Yeah, he had that big wraparound and all that stuff. But
a lot of players that probably could have gotten more recognition and didn't. I think the quarterbacks at those eras, our last two quarterbacks, dominated the news and all the award situations. So some of these guys were left with good feelings about what they accomplished, but national recognition, not so much.
Yeah. I guess if I had to put number one on there, I would probably put Lynn Dickey up there too.
Yep.
I think that's one of them. And I think,
but I think Jordy Nelson, he left Green Bay, went to Oakland, of course, and didn't do much out there.
Didn't want to leave Green Bay.
No. And I think that was another mistake of the management, because I think another year in Green Bay, because they were left without much for receiving.
Because I think
after he left,
and I think that's where he offered to take a pay cut to stay, like a significant one.
I think that was the beginning of the end for Aaron Rodgers. They're letting some of these guys go, and not Jordy Nelson, and they did. And I know these are business decisions, but there are some things that I don't know. Are there? Good question. Are there things that are over and above business decisions? Receiver to further, Jordy Nelson decision by management was one of the poorest that they made as far as letting players go because of their contract, especially when he decided or said that he'd take a pay cut to stay in Green Bay. I think that was a major problem, and I think that started the destruction of the relationship between the Packers and Aaron Rodgers.
So was that Goody's first year?
I'm not sure the general manager situation or not, but
I'll have to double check that.
Yeah, but it
was Goody. I just can't remember if that was his first year or not. I'd have to look that up. So, sure, if that was probably off to a good start.
Yeah, it wasn't good, that's for sure.
All right, we got to take a quick break, and we'll be back to finish up this first hour already in just a few minutes.
The Dan Kasper Show will be right back.
The Shoe Doctor is known for quality footwear. Remember, the Shoe Doctor can keep your feet comfortable during all the different outdoor weather and activities here in the Chippewa Valley. Work boots, casual shoes, sandals, and more. From brands you trust like Keen, Merrill, Chaco, and Dansko, and that's just to name a few. Located on Claremont Avenue in Eau Claire, you can also visit them online at ShoeDoctorFootwear.com. The Shoe Doctor, quality footwear for work, sport, and fun.
Suffer a sports injury or know someone who has and you don't know who to turn to? Rely on the experience of the sports medicine team at Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine. When you experience any sports-related injury or issue, you could count on Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine on prompt, proper diagnosis and customized treatment plans to meet your goals. When it comes to getting back on the field of play, get back on there with the best team in the area. Request an appointment with Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine today by visiting cvosm.com. Mark your calendars, car lovers. It's time for the third annual ASAP Used Auto Parts Car Show. The ASAP Used Auto Parts Car Show will be held on Wednesday, July 19th from 5 p.m. until 8 p.m. at the ASAP Used Auto Parts location at 1330 Menominee Street in Eau Claire. Whether you want to bring your vehicle to show off or you just want to check out the impressive lineup yourself, you won't want to miss out on this epic car show. So we will see you July 19th for the third annual ASAP Used Auto Parts Car Show.
Service Master of Chippewa Valley is your local expert when it comes to fire and water damage, carpet and air duct cleaning, mold remediation, and trauma. They're when you need them 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Trust comes in the yellow truck. Learn more at ServiceMasterChippewaValley.com.
Skilled trade workers are the backbone of every community and also the Army National Guard. Soldiers trained to keep the power flowing, engines running, and in every other trade needed to accomplish the mission. These soldiers are on the fast track to learning skills that can set them up for success at home with companies looking to hire the best. Their resumes are being built through their paid training and part-time service. Find out how you too can learn a trade profession by visiting NationalGuard.com. Sponsored by the Wisconsin Army National Guard, aired by the Wisconsin Broadcasters Association and this station. America is kept safe because the Army National Guard responds, protects, and supports our nation when it needs them most. From fighting wildfires with air support, helping civilians in flooded neighborhoods, to delivering food and supplies to those who have lost everything, the Army National Guard always responds when disaster strikes. The Army National Guard also trains to be ever vigilant against threats, foreign and domestic. They protect our skies with missile defense weaponry. They secure our information, communications, and infrastructure with cybersecurity. And they protect us against chemical, biological, and radiological hazards with the civilian support team. The Army National Guard also stands ready to deploy and provide support for conflicts or humanitarian missions abroad. Join the Army National Guard and be there to respond, protect, and support your community and your country. Visit NationalGuard.com to learn more about part-time service. Sponsored by the Wisconsin Army National Guard, aired by the Wisconsin Broadcasters Association and this station.
If Culligan isn't treating your home's water, you likely have water problems all around you, like hard-to-clean chalky residue on your shower, faucets, and bath, stains around your sink drains, spots on your dishes and glassware, plus dull, dried-out hair and skin, and problems you don't see, like scaly buildup in the water heater and pipes. But have no fear, you're in the clear with Culligan Products and Service. For all your residential and commercial water filtration needs,
visit CulliganH2O.com for your local Culligan water dealer.
There aren't many people as sports smart as he is, so he tries to use tiny words so people like me can easily follow along.
That doesn't make sense.
The Dan Kasper Show.
So I'm starting to get addicted to this AI thing, and I just got yelled at by it because I typed in. It kind of freaked me out a little bit. Top 5 worst Packers players of all time. I'm not allowed to use the word worst apparently, so they're saying underperform is the proper one out there. But
political correctness, even in AI.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't possess personal opinions or make subjective judgments. Determining the, quote, worst player in a team's history can be subjective and vary depending on different factors and perspectives. Okay.
So
but
they give you the 5?
They gave me 4.
Oh.
But their fifth one, they summed up the first 4. Tony Mandrich.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah. Ahmad Carroll, remember the corner from the early 2000s. Yep. Jamal Reynolds. I think that was
defensive lineman. Draft. Where was he from?
Florida State,
Florida
was it?
State,
yeah. Rich Campbell.
Was really a disappointment.
Yeah. Rich Campbell, remember the quarterback?
Quarterback came out of Cal.
Yep. Those were the 4 they gave me. And then the fifth one, they summed up the first 4 again. So apparently can't figure out a fifth one of underperforming. I'm sure we could probably figure out.
I'm sure we could if we go back and take a look.
A few out there. So, but I was having some some fun with it. I did test it for the top 10 wide receivers of all time in NFL history. They did have Don Hudson in there, so I was like, okay. At least you got a little bit of knowledge on there. Rice was one.
I was going to say Don Hudson had to be the only old timer in there, wasn't he? Basically.
Yeah. Rice was one. No argument there.
Oh no.
Randy Moss 2. Terrell Owens 3. Hudson was 4. Larry Fitzgerald 5. Calvin Johnson 6. Steve Largent was 7. Marvin Harrison, Chris Carter, then Michael Irvin.
Lance Allworth should be in there.
I would agree with that. Lance Allworth.
And what was his name? The guy for the Oakland Raiders. He had always had that. His whole cheeks were black from black.
You're not thinking Tim Brown, are you?
No. I'm trying to think of what his name was, but I can't think of it right now. But I think he was one of the all-time best receivers of all time. But I can't say his name. I can see his face, and I think his number was 83. But I can't be sure of that. But I think, and again, that's subjective. But for the most part, they got it right.
Yeah. So,
but again, there you go. James Lofton, he's a Hall of Famer, and he never gets a breath. Not even in the top 10 of all time.
Because didn't he end his career like either at one point he had the most receiving yards, didn't he? Before Jerry Rice obviously demolished it.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. So, but yeah, you don't hear his name a whole lot.
Never hear it.
Nope. All right. So coming up next hour, we'll get to some baseball talk. By the way, I did ask what they thought of top 5 Brewers players of all time. I don't know if you'd be curious to know what the computers of the world said.
Oh, absolutely.
Robin Yount 1, Paul Molitor 2, Ryan Braun 3, Cecil Cooper 4, and then Raleigh Fingers 5.
Can't argue that. Although, Teddy Higuera was a great left-handed pitcher for a while with the Brewers. I can't argue that. And Jimmy Gantner from Oshkosh doesn't get a lot of hype or credit for that, but boy, haven't had a second baseman like him since.
Yep.
He was a very big part of that team.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, leaving out Gorman Thomas, you're leaving out a
lot of those 80s members there.
Yeah, you're leaving out some big names, but I can't argue with the 5 they came up with.
And I'm sure some will probably knock down Braun out of there because of what we know what happened with his juicing and all that stuff. But I can't argue with it too much.
I can't either. But what is this? And I don't know what they base this on as far as active players. But what does that say about Christian Yelich? I mean, he was an MVP.
Too early to tell.
Well,
yet,
that's
maybe?
what I'm wondering. Yeah, he should have been, in my mind, 2-time MVP. When you're playing Los Angeles, Bellinger's going to get a lot of hype. But, he put up numbers that other Brewers haven't put up. Granted, it hasn't been over a long career like Yount and Molitor. But, is he going to get credit for one of the best Brewers of all time?
Maybe when it's all said and done.
He's doing well right now. I mean, he's having another comeback year.
He, for everybody who wants 2018 version of Christian Yelich, if you compare them, I did this on Monday, you compare the numbers he has now and in the All-Star break to when he had them in the All-Star break in 18, almost exactly the same, including home runs.
Yeah, that's what I said. And we said that at the beginning of the year. The Brewers have success. Christian Yelich has to come back, and he has. And the Brewers, well, it's a weak division. We all know that, but they're right there.
So I asked this, but I might bring it back up since you're on here. Does the fact that Christian Yelich is having a pretty darn good season, should that make the Brewers be more buyers to take advantage of that by the trade deadline coming up in a couple of weeks?
As a fan, I would hope so. I would hope so. If they pull a stunt like they did last year, dump Corbin Burns, so to speak, at the trade deadline, I think they're going to have a lot of upset fans. I mean, because the Hader trade will never take the bad taste out of Brewer fans' mouths because of the fact they got rid of him at a time when the Brewers were still in it.
That's going to be David Stern's lasting
legacy.
Yep.
It's for all the good things he's done, that will be his legacy. And Adenazio right away divorced himself a Well, that was a decision my baseball people made or something like that.
Yep.
He said he'd kind of
he did.
steered clear of it.
Yep.
But it will be, and it's not just the Hader trade, which was bad enough to get rid of him when they did, when they were in the hunt. But for what they got back, that's what galls me more than anything.
W286CK Eau Claire. Sports Talk 105.1 and 790 AM. From the 715 newsroom, it's Morgan McCarthy with your news on Sports Talk 105.1.
Good morning. Well, here's what we're learning today. An update from the meeting table, and we can now say that there was a vote last night, and the head of Eau Claire County Board is out following an investigation into millions of dollars in misspending at the County Department of Human Services. The county board last night voted to remove Chairman Nick Smer, as the county supervisors say someone had to be held accountable for the $3 million that were misspent or taken from the county's DHS department. Investigators say he knew about the misspending and theft, but never told anyone. No one has been charged in the case. County leaders may not be done, though. They're expected to meet again to possibly remove a county administrator as well. The fire in Washura County is contained but still burning. The State Department of Natural Resources yesterday say firefighters finally got the fire that started Monday under control. Investigators saying that started when someone was burning pallets, though they're not saying when the fire will burn itself out. Crews across Coloma say they'll spend another day at the fire today, as the DNR says folks across Wisconsin should be careful burning this week, despite some steady rains that some parts of Wisconsin is seeing. When it comes to school safety, the tip line is now accepting texts. Attorney General Josh Kaul announced a new text line saying that it will allow students, teachers, and parents to text in tips, just another tool to keep Wisconsin schools safe. Now, the new text line comes after Kaul said last month that he may have to close the tip line entirely. Kaul said if lawmakers didn't add $2 million to the state budget, he'd have to all but close his office of school safety and tip line. Yesterday, Kaul said that remains a possibility. Well, someone is a Mega Millions winner in Plymouth. That's where we go, the cheese capital of the world, and also somebody walking around with some extra cheese in the piggy bank. Wisconsin Lottery yesterday said there was a pick and save on Eastern Avenue that sold $1 million winning ticket this week, matching all 5 of the 6 numbers drawn. Not the first time, actually. That same store has sold $1 million scratch-off ticket back in March. And a little tired / give me my leg room. You're not alone. Sleep divorce is a thing.
That's when somebody regularly or occasionally sleeps in another room than their partner in order to get some rest without distractions like snoring or alarms. The data came to light in a survey from the American Academy of Sleep Medicine, which found that sleep divorce was most prominent among millennials, 43% of whom said they sleep in different rooms. I'm Michael Kastner.
That's what it's like coming in the studio as well. Casper starts talking and I doze off every once in a while. I'm like, oh.
Distractions like snoring or alarms.
For Sports Talk 105.1, I'm Morgan McCarthy.
High pressure over the region has given way to a dry start for our Thursday morning. That said, throughout the day, do expect a mix of clouds and sunshine. The slight chance for a shower or storm. We'll see temperatures back near average into the low 80s. Tonight, a scattered shower or storm possible, partly cloudy, 62 for the low. And then tomorrow, partly to mostly sunny, a slight shower or storm, 85. I'm Sky 113 meteorologist Derek Dahlman.
That big report from the USDA for July came out yesterday. Let's take a look at it as we look at some farm news this morning on Sports Talk 105.1 and AM 790. July's USDA World Agriculture Supply and Demand Estimate report usually doesn't change much from earlier reports, but because of the drought conditions across much of the Corn Belt, yesterday's report did lower corn yield estimates by about 4 bushels an acre down to 177.5, but they did raise planted corn acres by about 2 million up to 94.1 million acres. That would mean a crop of just over 15.3 billion bushels, which would be a new record. For soybeans, the report put planted acres at 83.5 million, yields at 83.5 bushels an acre for a final crop size of 4.3 billion bushels. The ongoing drought is major news. In major growing areas of the country, it's also getting worse. This week's U.S. Drought Monitor shows 70% of the U.S. corn crop, 63% of the soybeans are covered by some stage of drought. 2 of our 4 major growing states, Illinois and Indiana, have seen the drought expand over the past week, as 59% of Illinois is now in a severe drought situation, up 31% from a week earlier. The updated monitor shows 92% of Illinois is abnormally dry. Currently, about 65% of the Midwest is abnormally dry, with another 25% considered to be in a severe drought situation, with 4% in an exceptional drought, all up from last week. Well, beef judging filled the new Custer Coliseum yesterday afternoon at the Northern Wisconsin State Fair in Chippewa Falls. When it was over, Liberty Favor of Connaught had the grand champion steer, a 1,215-pound entry, followed by Olivia Wampole of Stanley with her 1,290-pound reserve champion. In the dairy beef show, the champion was a 1,510-pound steer shown by Ben Wicken of Duncan Creek 4-H. The reserve champion shown by Isla Nelson of the Woodmore 4-H of Bloomer. In the sheep show, the grand champion was shown by Arabella Knuth of the Jimtown Jumpers. Reserve champion shown by Wyatt Gotham with the Duncan Creek 4-H Club. All those market animals will be sold at auction tonight, starting at 6 o'clock in the Custer Coliseum. That's a look at some food and farm news this morning on Sports Talk 105.1 and AM 790. I'm Bob Bosold.
How do you begin your mornings? If you're like many people in the world, and like me, you begin it with coffee. But not just plain burnt coffee, quality coffee. Coffee from Cabin Coffee in Altoona. Hot, iced, blended. Doesn't matter what your go-to style is, Cabin Coffee has something for everyone to help make your mornings go just a little bit better. And at Cabin Coffee, they even roast their own coffee, and you can get your own bag of freshly roasted and ground coffee, which is perfect for me since I'm up earlier than the majority of you. Begin your mornings just a little bit better with Cabin Coffee in Altoona.
There's more to imagine when we listen on Audible. Spark your imagination with the best selection of audiobooks, podcasts, and originals around. Sign up for a free 30-day trial at audible.com.
Crank it up. Are you ready today? Get up. He's on his way. He's our man. The man, the myth, the legend. That's Dan. And now, the Dan Kasper Show.
All right, second hour kicking off on this Thursday morning. Coming up next hour, don't forget we've got our good buddy Jake Bolks, Wisconsin Conservation Warden, joining us to answer your questions. So if you got any questions for a DNR warden, text those puppies on over to the Shoe Doctor's bullpen line at 715-830-1912. We're going to get to some baseball chat coming up here momentarily. We got some quick sports nuggets of the day brought to you by Yancey Associates. G-Man wants to know, and this was the name I was kind of wondering too. Were you thinking of Bolitnikov?
Yes, Fred Bolitnikov.
Okay, Fred Bolitnikov. Okay, so yes, that was the answer there. Let's do some sports nuggets of the day here this morning. 1930, the first Soccer World Cup competition began in Uruguay. 13 teams were in the competition. We got, this is when the Colts and the Rams owners traded teams, 1972. Carol Rosenblum and then Robert Irsay. Rosenblum was the owner of the Baltimore Colts. Irsay, the owner of the Los Angeles Rams, traded teams. I don't know if that would happen in today's age, but
I don't think those two teams are equal value anymore.
No. We got 1982, the All-Star game, Major League Baseball All-Star game was played outside the United States for the first time. They played in Montreal, Canada. And 1984, sportscaster Howard Cosell asked to be released from his duties on Monday Night Football. He said that he was, quote, tired of being tied to the football mentality. What was Cosell like? Is there a comparison you can make to Cosell to a sports figure in today's
not
day
as far
and
as
age?
broad? He was so pompous and so I'm better than you added. The only guy that brought him down to
Was
earth,
it Ali?
Muhammad Ali. He I'm sure he had respect, but he didn't put up with any of that stuff. And Howard, he'd rub Howard's head and everything else. And, Howard would wear a toupee once in a while or most of the time. And Ali would have no respect for any of that pompous stuff. And, yeah, he was one of a kind. And, he was a show-off. He wanted to make people think that he had a vocabulary that was above most people, and yeah, he was one of a kind.
Would you put him on the list of some of the best of all time in sports broadcasting, or does that kind of sour taste?
I don't know if I'd put him among the best. I'd put him among the most unique.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because when I think of him, I think of Ali as like the first thing I think of. And then, because was it he?
Well, he takes credit for making Ali so famous. You know, he was that pompous.
Mm-hmm. Because he was it him that announced on Monday Night Football? Was it the Beatles? John Lennon? Didn't he do the announcement or something like that? That he passed away, was assassinated?
I couldn't tell you. I don't remember exactly, but I wouldn't doubt that he demanded that he be the one to be able to do that. I'm sure he did.
But all right, those are just some of your sports nuggets for this morning. Talking some Brewers baseball. Brewers will begin a series against the Reds starting tomorrow. But when we opened up things last hour, we threw out the question: what will be this will be the storyline for the Brewers in the second half? You got to fill in the blank. What is that storyline that you're going to be following, or if you want to make a bold prediction or anything like that? I threw out some examples of like Christian Yelich. What are we going to get a continued second half like we saw, or could we get a second half like he did in 2018 where he exploded for 25 home runs in the second half that allowed or helped him win the MVP that year? Because I don't think anybody thought he'd beat MVP heading into the All-Star break that year, and just exploded, especially in the months of September and August there. Is it Brandon Woodruff coming back from injury? Could it be Corbin Burns maybe pitching at Cy Young level? Willie Adames winning the All-Star break, playing some really good baseball. What are those storylines? Trade deadline coming up here too. What do you got for me?
Those are all good headlines, and I would add, can they get healthy and get a sustainable lineup? Because the lineup has been in flux. Does Miller stay at first base? Does Rowdy Tellez come back and help him at all? I think there's still so many. The offense, can the offense get going consistently? Now they've had their runs where they, like the Cincinnati series, they played some offense, but can they be consistently counted on to score runs? I think that's what I'm looking for. And I think it's neat what the moves they made over the All-Star break. I was wondering, I think you were too, is Keston here coming back? They're bringing him back.
Yeah, because they need that offense for sure, right? I mean, they flipping need to get some consistency, especially at first base there too. So, was it announced he's coming back to the Brewers?
Yeah, I thought they said that because they let Winker go, or just send him out for assignment, Winker, and that Keston Hiura was coming back. Unless I dreamed that, but I sure thought they said that they're bringing Keston Hiura up. He's batting .320 down in the AAA and ripping that pitching apart. That I saw that he was coming back. Did I dream that?
I think you dreamt it.
But Winker designated for assignment. Jesse Winker.
I'm not seeing that anywhere.
Really?
I missed that. But yeah, that's not. I don't see that anywhere. What kind of dreams are you having that night there?
We're giving you a scoop.
Did you get into that dandelion wine already this morning?
That's right. Today's wine day. What we got any left that we haven't tried yet?
Oh yeah, G-Man was wondering if you if we had any left. I think we still got some left.
Oh, we got some left. I was just wondering about a different variety. I'll have to come in there and get some here.
You have to, man. Go check it out. So
we'll get it opened on air. Pop the cork, as they say.
Do it up, buddy.
I can't believe I didn't see that or read that. Help us out if you're out there and you heard
I'm
about
Googling, man, and because I thought I missed it, but
Jesse Winker getting designated for assignment.
I haven't. It's not on the Brewers thing either, so I don't know, man. Maybe you got a premonition coming.
Deja vu all over again.
You got a premonition coming,
Yeah,
and
whatever.
I will tell you right now, if this is become official by tomorrow, I want you to pick my lottery ticket. I want you to pick my numbers out there.
I swear I read that someplace, but I don't know. Must not have.
I don't know where to go from here. I really hope you're right now.
But I mean,
Yeah.
but I mean, that's what I think the Brewers need. And if Keston here, come on, he's not going to bat 320 in the major league. Let's face it. But if he can come up, and if he could bat 270, 280, provide a little offensive punch.
Because if you do
put the
bring up
ball-
Keston, you got to keep him. Otherwise, you got to DF.
Yeah, I know,
he's
out of options.
Out of options. Yep. So.
But Jesse Winker has been. What did he come over from? Where did he come from?
He was part of the trade with Seattle when they sent Colton Wong. Over there. He used to be with the Reds, and he was an all-star with the Reds over there.
But he's really done nothing for the
From
Brewers.
a DH.
Yeah.
No, he finally did his first home run just a while ago.
Yeah.
For a DH, when your job is to hit and you're not hitting, you're not doing your job then.
No, you're not. And we got to get consistency. Some of these guys like Anderson have shown playing third base a good glove and an inconsistent bat. He's done some good things at times. And, it's just they got to tighten up the little things. They really do. And I don't know how much the manager has to do with that as far as putting these guys in the right positions, not only in the field, but in the batting order as well. But I think the offense has to get Freddie Peralta. I'd like to see him improve a little bit in the second half because, he's had some opportunities to win and he's given up some awful big hits. Home runs is what I'm talking about for big hits.
Because we got that trade deadline coming up on August 1st. We've got 2 more series with the Reds who we're chasing right now. But then we're done playing the Reds.
For the whole season?
For the whole season. We got the Reds coming up tomorrow, and then we got the Reds starting July 24th through the 26th. Then we're done. We're done going up against the Reds this year.
That could be.
Will that decide whether they are going to be? Do you think it'll be after that Red Series, July 26th, deadline's August 1st, or do you think they've already got their mind made up now? Because I think, would you say it's fair, little receiver defer right now, that this division is now just a 2-team race because Chicago's in third place, but they're 7 games back?
Yeah, and I keep thinking, where's St. Louis? Where's St. Louis? But they just don't seem to get any traction.
No, we keep waiting, but how much longer can we keep waiting? They're 11.5 back right now.
Yeah, when you get into, can they go on another one of those runs like they did, was it last year, the year before, where they won like 20 out of 21 or something like that? I don't think this team is capable of doing that in St. Louis. So, I have to lean with you that it's probably a 2-team race right now. And Cincinnati's not backing up. I mean, they've got some good young players, and, Votto seems re-energized coming back with these young players. And,
De La Cruz is setting the world on fire right now.
He's real.
Yeah, he is definitely real deal. I mean, if you're the Reds, and if you're a Reds fan, and even if you don't make the postseason this year, you got to be feeling pretty good about your future, I would think, at this point with that young talent.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
Going in here. But yeah, Votto, we'll see how much longer he's up there in age, but he's still hitting, for crying out loud.
Yeah, he is. I was glad to see the Brewers in his last series against Cincinnati. That left-handed rookie pitcher, Roberts, or whatever his name is, he baffled him the first start he had in the major leagues, and they beat him up pretty good the last time out. So, these flashes in the pan, as we always say, whether you're on offense or a pitcher or whatever the case may be, these people are pretty smart in Major League Baseball, and they can figure it out. If you've got a hole, they'll find it.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. So, but I did the math. I had to use a calculator because I wanted to make sure I was accurate with this thing. 91 games in, we got 71 more to go. How many more wins is it going to take for the Brewers, who are right now, if the playoffs started today, which is way too early to do that, but to put it in perspective, they're a half game out of a wild card, 1 game behind the Reds for the division. But 71 games left on the schedule. They've got 49 wins. Yeah, 49 wins. How many wins is it going to take to get that playoff spot, you think?
Oh, boy, this is a little early to predict that.
G-Man's got 49 wins they're going to get in the second half. 49 out of 71.
They've got 49 now.
And he thinks they're going to win 49 more.
98 games? Oh, boy. I don't know. I think they'll win between 90 and 95. 98's a big number to come up with. But
so that would be a 49-22 record in the second half.
That's a pretty good record.
And
I
love the optimism.
So do I. And I'd love to see that happen. But realistically, I don't think they're that good. I really don't. I mean, they're just when I was down there. Well, I was down there.
You were at the Cubbies game, right?
I was at a Cubs game,
Mhm.
and that was a series that you don't lose 3 out of 4 to the Cubs. You just don't. And that was a series where I'm sitting there watching. I'm thinking, man, that's a minor league player in a major league uniform, because they're just so inconsistent. And unfortunately, they got what I saw 3-4 players like that were playing that are, could shuffle back from AAA to the major leagues. Well, you're going to be in the hunt for the playoffs. You don't want to have that. You want to have major league players. You really do. And so 49-22 is pretty aggressive for the second half of the year, but I'm hoping they can do it. But Peralta has got to get better.
Mhm.
I mean, I've watched him pitch a couple times this year live, and, he doesn't get beat by, little dunk shots into right field. I mean, they're knocking the back walls of the stadium down off of this guy. They're hitting him hard.
Mhm.
And so he has to get better.
Mhm. Yeah.
And we've got to get Woodruff back. I don't know. We're past the All-Star break now. They were aiming for that. I hope he's in the rotation soon.
Mm-hmm.
We need him.
Mm-hmm.
Miley has been doing
He's been
a wonderful
really
job
good this year. Yeah.
Yeah, he's done a wonderful job. Burns is up and down. I think since he got his hair cut, he might be better. He's not worrying about his hair between every pitch. So, I think he can focus in the right areas. I think he's going to be better in the second half, and not just because of his hair. I just say that as an aside, but it was distracting watching him every pitch. He's got to go to his hair, and he got that cut. So, with Keston Hero back up.
I'm looking at kind of the playoff standings. I mean, I know it's too early to be kind of looking at that, but I think once the calendar turns to August and after the trade deadline, maybe that's when you start to focus a little bit more on like playoff. But the National League is setting up. It's kind of interesting how it is right now, because you've got Atlanta and the Dodgers and Cincy as your division leaders. Your three wild card teams is Miami, Arizona, and San Francisco. And then you got Philly and Milwaukee as two teams who are just a half game out from a wild card spot. But then there's a huge gap, because then the next closest one is the Padres, who are 6 games back from a wild card spot.
Look at the Padres' salary.
And look at the Mets, 7 games back.
Yeah, and look at those two teams. Then you look at Cincinnati. You look at Milwaukee.
Arizona.
Combined,
Miami.
their salaries probably aren't as big as those two teams. Can you buy the pennant? I guess this year you could probably say no, at least at this point. But the thing that's ominous for me is the Brewers. Here we are getting close to the trade deadline. They're a game out. Where were they last year at the trade deadline? A game out. And they made one of the most horrendous trades in the history of the Brewers, as far as I'm concerned. I think a lot of other people are concerned that it's the same thing. What they did was not good, and I'm just worried that they're going to do it again. Or do they see the handwriting on the wall from the fans? You pull that again, and there'll be ramifications. Stadium won't be as full as it is. That stadium is 33, 35, 40,000 every game.
Mm-hmm.
And that's good for your team. That's really following that team. And I don't know how long Brewer fans would put up with that if they pulled another boner like they did last year.
I'm just doing some math, because you've got the Mets have a payroll of $348 million right now for this year. If we added Baltimore, who's in a playoff spot, they've got the second lowest payroll in all of baseball right now. Plus, Tampa Bay's got the third lowest. And those are two teams that are battling it out right now.
Yeah, they're in the hunt.
AL East right now for first place. I'm kind of comparing, like, because you mentioned adding some of these payrolls. So we add Tampa Bay and Baltimore. That's 188. You're only at $144 million right now. Not even halfway to what the Mets payroll is. You want to add on?
San Diego isn't far behind. They're up there too as far as money they're paying.
We add on the Reds. And let's add on the Brewers, because they're next up on this list. Nope, not the Brewers. Let's do Miami, because they're next. So we got Miami at $96 million. We get okay. So what did I say? We added the Baltimore, Tampa Bay, Cincy, and Miami payrolls. That's $332.9 million. The Mets, $348.
Boy,
those are all playoff teams, and the Mets are not.
Oh Lord, the haves and the have-nots as far as money, and you can't buy it. You can't buy a pennant.
Nope. Yeah, you mentioned Padres. They have the third most. Yankees between the Mets and the Yankees aren't even a playoff team right now. Your top four teams in payroll right now are not playoff teams in baseball because the fourth is Philly. And Philly's the closest.
Yeah, and they have to be really frustrated. They're not only their fans, but their ownership, their front office. What do we have to do? Now, last year, Philly got to the World Series, but, that was kind of like the Washington Nationals a few years ago. That was a surprise. The Nationals went all the way. Philly got beat. But still, it's one of those things. It's you find lightning in a bottle.
Go on that run right at the end there.
Exactly. And that's what happened with Philadelphia last year. Now they're kind of back to earth. But, Philly's spent a lot of money.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Let's take a quick break here. Got to do that. Then we'll finish up the first hour coming up here pretty soon with some receive or defer. But we'll be back after these few short words.
You're listening to the Dan Kasper Show.
Now that you've gotten a few rounds of golf in, either for fun or for league, let me ask you, how's your back feeling? Or what about those weekend-long softball tournaments? How are you feeling when you show up to work on Monday mornings? Been there. You're limping around, and it's difficult to even get out of bed or your office chair. Well, stop limping around and complaining about that pain you have and do something about it. Make your appointment right now with Shepke Chiropractic. Shepke Chiropractic's goal is to work with each patient to achieve their goals and perform to their fullest potential in the capacity that their life requires. So if you're dealing with some back pain from all those extracurricular activities like golfing or playing ball, or because of all those home projects that you're working on, help relieve that back pain by making your appointment with Dr. Logan Shepke. Plus, they have 2 locations to help better serve you. Your journey to a healthier, more fulfilling life starts here at Shepke Chiropractic. Make your appointment today at one of their 2 locations by visiting ShepkeChiropractic.com. That's ShepkeChiropractic.com. Mark your calendars, car lovers. It's time for the 3rd annual ASAP Used Auto Parts Car Show. The ASAP Used Auto Parts Car Show will be held on Wednesday, July 19th from 5 p.m. until 8 p.m. at the ASAP Used Auto Parts location at 1330 Menominee Street in Eau Claire. Whether you want to bring your vehicle to show off or you just want to check out the impressive lineup yourself, you won't want to miss out on this epic car show. So we will see you July 19th for the 3rd annual ASAP Used Auto Parts Car Show.
This update sponsored by UW Credit Union, the local Wisconsin team that's always rooting for you. Delta Dental is proud to sponsor Family Sundays at Helper Field. Play catch on the field on Sundays from 10:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. prior to Brewers' regular season home games. Admission is free. UW Credit Union, here for every you. Join today.
Get ready to save with half-off deals, a great way for you to get goods and services that you will love and you don't have to pay full price. Be sure to check out all the great savings that half-off deals have to offer. There's something for everyone, so be sure to see for yourself. Be ready with your credit or debit card and get ready to save. For more details and to find out about all the savings, just go to aroundthe715.com.
Economy Furniture in Chippewa Falls is something that you gotta see. The biggest selection for miles around, 2 jam-packed floors of quality. At Economy, you don't have to wait for a sale. It can be yours immediately. Everyday low prices on the best brand names, and we finance it interest-free. Furnishing the Chippewa Valley since 1950. Economy Furniture's for me.
Thanks for listening. And thanks for checking out our live stream on YouTube and Facebook. And thanks for not mentioning that spot on Dan's shirt.
Barbecue stain on my white t-shirt.
I guess that's why he never wears white.
You can't handle the truth.
The Dan Kasper Show.
3 weeks from tomorrow, we've got the Casper Classic. So if you haven't signed up your two-person team yet, you better get on it. Time's running out. We got a few spots available. Head to sportstalk1051.com to register your two-person team. All proceeds going to help Backyard Dreams. I want to give a shout-out to our partners helping us out. We got Hy-Vee, who's going to be providing the fabulous lunch again this year. Our good friends from Carpet City Flooring Center got something exciting planned up here for Carpet City Flooring Center coming up here and pretty soon here. But more details to come on that. Mike Star Markets, our good friends from Mike Star Market, they're going to be handing out some snack sticks at the event next Thursday, or no, excuse me, 3 weeks from Friday. I don't know what I'm getting at there. We got Economy Furniture, Doodah Gin, Toyson Ford, Clay, Service Master, Chippewa Valley. Shout out Clay over there. Park Ridge Distributing, Edward Jones, Financial Advisor, Kelsey Nikolai, Myron Construction. Big thanks to our friends from Myron Construction. Sandbar and Grill, Pro Valley Auto Glass, Ray's Place, Shepke Chiropractic. So I know Dr. Crow is going to be golfing in it as well. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Again, proceeds going to Backyard Dreams. We've got the G-Man Putting Challenge that will be going on possibly for some Brewers tickets, to win some Brewers tickets for that too. And we got some awesome raffle prizes. We got those jerseys. We got the autographed Willie Adames jersey. Got the Packers football from the Packers, the title belts. Everybody's going to get a golf towel as well. So, but that's 3 weeks from tomorrow. Get your team in. If you're not a golfer, you can hang out with us too throughout the day. Plus, we'll have T-shirts available, collector T-shirts available for sale. Again, all proceeds going to help Backyard Dreams. MLB.com. They've got an article up. What each team learned in the first half. Let's see if you agree with what they have about the Brewers. Brewers, defense wins in a weak division. The Brewers haven't been particularly impressive on offense, 22nd with an 89 WRC plus, or pitching 15th with a 4.11 ERA. But they play great defense, first with 30 defensive runs saved, and they've been good enough to reside at or near the top of the National League Central all season. The Brewers finished the first half 1 game back the Reds, and considering the Cardinals' surprising collapse, look like the most talented team in the division, especially if they get starter Brandon Woodruff back from injury. Buying that?
For the most part, yeah. The Brewers do need, they've got they're a nice team, but they've got to tighten up in different areas. We talked about the pitching's got to be a little better, and the hitting and the defense. Yeah, they made some critical errors.
Mm-hmm. But still number one in runs, runs saved over there. So I think a lot of that is that speed that they incorporated. Not Jesse Winker, but Joey Weimer out there in the field. Bryce Terang, when he's out there playing with the big league club, making some plays over there.
Yeah, he's done a nice job at second base. You bet he has.
Yep.
Yeah, and I don't think the defense is a major problem. It's a concern once in a while. They get a little lax, but for the most part, I think their defense is all right.
Yeah, I mean, when you're number one in defensive run saves, nobody better than you in that department.
That's the way you lose when the other team scores runs. That's how you lose.
Twins fans over there too, kind of maybe in a little bit of a similar boat to the Brewers, where they should be buyers or sellers at the trade deadline. I mean, they're 5 games out of a wild card spot, but they're a half game out from first place in their division, but they're under 500 at this point, 45 and 46. So a little bit similar to the Brewers, in which they got to decide whether they're going to be buyers or sellers and try to get into the postseason and have that mindset of like, well, once you get to the postseason, anything can happen. But I was talking to Luke about it, since he is our resident Twins fans, and he wants the Twins to be buyers at the deadline. But what can they do? Will be interesting.
Yeah, and I don't follow the Twins enough to know where they might have some holes that they can shore up. But it sure be nice sometime we get a Brewers Twins World Series. Wouldn't that be something?
Well, that might have to be just August 22nd and 23rd. Those 2 games again.
Milwaukee or
in Milwaukee?
Okay.
Yeah. I wish they wouldn't do them during the week. And I get it scheduling wise, but it's like Tuesday, Wednesday series again. Put 2 games over there. So I don't know. I always like going to Brewers and Twins games. I always enjoyed that. Now they make it a little bit difficult to do it because they split up that series.
Yeah, the Twins for a long time had to have the Brewers number. For some reason, they do well. Again, I remember Kirby Puckett used to just murder the Brewers. Just murder the Brewers. And the Twins have not had their way, but have enjoyed playing the Brewers because of the results for the most part.
Yeah. Remember my first game ever was Brewers Twins game in the old Metrodome. Cal Eldred was on the mound for the Brewers. Marquise Grissom, center field. For the Brewers. So yeah, those are. I think Brad Radke was pitching actually for the Twins in that game back in the day. Eau Claire native Brad Radke.
You bet. That was a while ago.
Do you think Ohtani's going to get traded?
I don't know. I don't know what Oscar Moreno, the owner of the A's, is thinking. I know he said he doesn't want to get rid of Ohtani, but I don't know who can afford that guy, and rightly so compared to these other contracts. He deserves probably the numbers they're talking about, 650 million, because you're not getting a hitter, you're not getting a pitcher, you're getting both. When he's not pitching, he's still in the lineup hitting home runs. So I don't know who can afford him realistically. I really don't. I mean, you talk about these teams having big markets, New York, LA. I don't know who can afford him.
Makes things a little bit more in terms could he be traded because the Angels went into that All-Star break limping. I mean, they lost 9 of their final 10. I mean, at one point, okay, they're going to go to the postseason, you keep them, but now you limp into the break losing that and you're out of the postseason race for now. I mean, they could, hot start and maybe that changes, but I don't know the type of value you get, because like if a team's going to trade for Ohtani, you'd think they'd be a contending team, right? So how much would a contending team be willing to give up a lot of their assets who helped them become a contending team right now? You're essentially acquiring 2 players with Ohtani. You're acquiring a starting pitcher and a hitter.
Yeah, you got to pay him for both.
And the only comparison I could kind of think of was maybe, and it would still cost more, but like when the Padres last year traded for Soto and Hader, they gave up a lot for those two, but Hader is also a closer. So a starting pitcher is going to be worth more than a closer at that point. But you're essentially trading for 2 all-star players. What's the appropriate value for this?
I don't know. And what's the value of a starting pitcher? I think the Mets went way out over their skis for Verlander and Scherzer. I mean, paying those guys the money they're paying them at their age, you're paying them for past performance, and it's showing this year. Those guys aren't doing anything. They're just average pitchers. And so what you pay for these guys, starting pitchers, we know that market got devalued over the past few years. Now, is it going back up again? I think Scherzer and Verlander have made the point that other teams are picking up that can't pay these guys that kind of money. They only pitch every 5th day. If they get hurt and they're out on the 30-day disabled list, that's that many fewer games that they're playing. I want to have a contributor. I think Ohtani would be worth more, even at $600 million, than Scherzer and Verlander are with their contracts. Because if he can't pitch, he had a period there where he couldn't pitch, but he could still hit. So he still is paying you off on that part of the contract. So I think Ohtani, being the player he is, dual-purpose player, and a great dual-purpose player, is worth more at that inflated number than some of these other starting pitchers are for the contracts they've gotten to pitch every 5th or 6th day, and then they get a little shoulder trouble or a little tweak their elbow or do something like that, and they're out of missed 2 or 3 starts. Well, all of a sudden, the value of that contract goes up per game pitched. So I think Ohtani, even at that money, which is fabulous money, is worth it compared to some of these other guys.
One team that maybe we weren't talking enough about as a potential suitor for Ohtani, whether it's a trade deadline or maybe free agency. We've been talking like Dodgers and all that. It might be Seattle as one.
That was a report I heard too.
Because the fans were chanting, All-Star game was in Seattle, come to Seattle. And then he made some interesting comments afterwards, saying that he actually spent a couple of off seasons in Seattle. I like the city. Right. Spending a couple off seasons in Seattle.
Well, let's face it, with that kind of a contract, even he could afford to live in Seattle because that's not a cheap place to live. But, yeah, and I don't know, Seattle is a, hot spot with all the tech giants out there. And for the most part, I wouldn't want to live in that weather.
Yeah.
I mean, Seattle's a beautiful city. This is where it's located and everything else. But I think that kind of weather gets kind of old after a while, that long rainy season, and it's coming. It's always there. It's consistent.
Well, I mean, it'd be interesting too if he goes over there because Seattle isn't considered the greatest hitting ballpark over there, either. So, I mean, you're bringing in a big bat. Would his numbers suffer a little bit offensively? I mean, I don't know.
That would remain to be seen,
Yeah.
So, but is he focused more on his hitting or his pitching? Does he want to go to a ballpark where maybe the hitting isn't so good for his pitching side of his performance versus the hitting side? He can make up for that, and he's known for hitting home runs. He's not like Ichiro, who was in Seattle and, got 3,000 hits, spraying it all over the field.
Yep.
So what does he consider the most important part of his game? I think is going to go a long way in him making that decision.
That's an interesting point. Yeah. Do you go to a hitter's ballpark or a pitcher's ballpark?
Yeah, exactly. And, if he wants to go to a hitter's ballpark, Chicago, Wrigley Field, there are a lot of hitters Milwaukee.
Come on, Ohtani.
He's worth more. He'd be worth more than the franchise almost. Yeah. But I mean,
Giannis,
I think
some more money.
I think he's got to consider that as far as, does he want to go to a hitter's park or a pitcher's park?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point. That's an interesting point there. I'm going to save this next question for receiver to first. So that's baseball related, but we'll take a quick break and finish up the second hour with a little receive or defer after these quick words.
Got a take on today's topics but can't call in? Then hit us up on Facebook, Twitter, or the text line and let your fingers do the talking.
This update sponsored by UW Credit Union, the local Wisconsin team that's always rooting for you. Following Brewers Sunday home games, kids 14 and under can come down to the field and run the bases, presented by Aurora Healthcare. The post-game kids base run line begins along the first base line on the field level. UW Credit Union, here for every you. Join today.
All aboard! The Eau Claire Express are back. They're taking the field once again this summer, and you can support Eau Claire Express baseball at historic Carson Park all summer long. General admission tickets and grandstand tickets are available, and you can check out the rest of the 2023 Express schedule at eauclairexpress.com or on their Facebook page. Enjoy summer baseball with the Eau Claire Express.
Worn out tires are a danger to you, your passengers, and other drivers. TireRack.com reminds you to inspect your tires regularly. Grab a quarter, stick it in the tread, and if you can see the top of Washington's head, it's time to replace. Go to my page, TireRack.com/Dan. Use the Tire Decision Guide to find the right tires for how and what and where you drive. Choose from the full lineup of Continental tires and tread confidently. TireRack.com. TireRack.com is the way tire buying should be.
Summer cookouts are in full swing right now, and if you want to make sure your cookout stands out from the rest and make Joey down the street jealous of your backyard barbecues, you need to make sure your menu stands out. How? Easy. Mike's Star Market. From burgers, brats, steaks, and chicken, Mike's Star Market has all the items you need to make your summer cookouts the talk of the town this year. So give Mike's Star Market a visit at 2238 Heimstead Road in Eau Claire. Grab your meat selection for the grill and enjoy these summer cookouts. Hunters, are you looking for a brand new firearm to take with you to the woods? Or maybe you want to save a little money and are looking at getting a high quality used firearm? Whatever the case may be, if you're looking for a rifle for, say, deer hunting or shotgun for your turkey hunting adventures, look no further than Tilden Gun. Tilden Gun features a wide selection of new and used firearms. And if you're looking for a particular firearm, Tilden Gun will help you find that firearm for you. And plus, they have a wall of handguns for you to check out as well. And you know you're going to need some ammo, targets, cases, scopes, and other accessories too. Well, Tilden Gun has all the accessories you need to properly outfit your firearm to hit the woods. Tilden Gun has the biggest selection, all at the best prices in the Chippewa Valley. So here's what you do. You could visit tildengun.com to see what all Tilden Gun has to offer. And you can stop by Tilden Gun and check out their amazing shop and see what they all have in store. Visit Tilden Gun today at 12427 98th Avenue, Chippewa Falls.
Solving mysteries is hard. Streaming them isn't. We need to know what happened.
There's someone else pulling the strings here.
This month, get in touch with your inner detective and stream the best selection of British mysteries during Mystery Month on BritBox.
That is interesting.
Watch entire series of fan favorites, including the newest seasons of Luther, Silent Witness, Father Brown, Vera, and more.
My lips are sealed.
No one does mystery like the Brits. Start streaming now with a free trial at BritBox.com.
Do you know of anyone who needs some help chasing their dreams and passions? Backyard Dreams wants to help. Email us at info@sportstalk1051.com so we can help.
All right, you ready for a little receive or defer here, big boy? I gotta pod you up over there. You know?
Always ready.
Let me play the intro. We haven't played the intro here in a little bit. Gotta warm up the buttons.
Receive or defer. The decision is yours. Let the games begin.
All right, I'll let you go first, Honorable.
All right, now this isn't something I'm passionate about, but I was watching it the other night. The home run derby. I don't know if you watched it at all, but receiver defer. The home run derby should go to the most homers overall and not have like a tournament, like 1 against 8, and I don't know how they rank them anyway.
So kind of going back to the old, the original version.
I'd like to see them have 3 rounds, 50 pitches. I mean, Alonso got eliminated right away. The guy had 41 home runs. And then he came back the next round and hit, I don't know, 12 or 15, something like that. But I like to see Alonso and the others, 3 rounds, most home runs, you win. 150, you get 50 pitches each round. And then you go like that. I don't like this format because, you know, I just think there's Alonso should have still been in it. He got, you know, because like I said, the guy from Seattle was fantastic.
Julio, yeah.
But I'd like to see him change that.
You know what? I'm kind of in agreement with you a little bit. I'm more old school ish in that term. Like I'm not a biggest fan of the bracketed, you know, the 1 versus 8 and that sort of thing. And I know, you know, it's like, well, the guys should hit more anyways, regardless. And yeah, I get it.
But you can
a fair
see
point, but
you know how fickle that is. The guy hits 41, then he hits, I don't know, he got eliminated in the second round because he hit 15 or 18, something like that. I'd like to see them all have the equal number of pitches and how many home runs you hit over with 150 pitches, or that's an arbitrary number or whatever it would be.
You
know, but
I'm a little bit more old school on that,
yeah,
so
I'd like to see that change.
You got one, or can I go now?
Go ahead.
Okay. So I'm sure you've heard of Luis Ariz from the Marlins over there. He is into the All-Star break, hitting .383. Receive or defer. Will he get to 400 and become the first since Ted Williams?
Sure like to see it, but I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen. He's a young player. I think he's going to flame out a little bit. But, he got at least a couple of hits that I saw in the All-Star game the other night, so he's real. I mean, he's a good hitter, but 400 is a tall mountain to climb.
Tony Gwynn had 394 in 1994. George Brett hit 390 in 1980. I'm going to defer to that too. I actually think it's going to be a little bit lower than what he's got right now.
Oh, I don't think he's going to hit 370.
Yeah, I was thinking like 360s, maybe 350 somewhere in there. But
which is nothing to sneeze at, but 400 is just that much more.
You know, I had this as a trivia question, not to get completely off topic here, but still baseball. But I had this. We talk about unbreakable records, right? I mean, the Joe DiMaggio one comes out to mind for a lot of people. Maybe is Ted Williams kind of? I don't know if that's unbreakable, but it's a tough task. It's been around for almost on 80 some years now. Iron Man streaks and all that. We were looking up because Tuesday was it was like the anniversary of when Nolan Ryan had his 4,000th strikeout, and then you look at his career strike; it's 5,700.
Mm-hmm.
And there's only three other pitchers who have over 4,000. I mean, is Nolan Ryan's strikeout record, considering starting pitchers only go 5-6 innings now, is unbreakable at this point?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Nobody can near it.
I think the active leader, what did we say, was Scherzer right now? I can bring it up here.
And he's about done.
Yeah.
You know, he's not performing to the level that he's accustomed to, that's for sure. And at his age, I don't see how he's going to get much better. But no, nobody will touch Nolan Ryan. Nolan Ryan never got hurt. He was an Iron Man. Man, he could pitch and pitch and pitch and pitch. You look at the innings he pitched every year.
Yeah.
And I wish I had it. And Sports Illustrated few years ago, and I'm sure somebody in the audience probably has that.
You ever get your Martha Stewart one, by the way? Swimsuit cover one?
No, I didn't. I quit getting Sports Illustrated because it's not the same magazine it used to be. The writers just aren't there, and it's more of a meandering feature stories than it is what I'm accustomed to in Sports Illustrated. But a few years ago, they had in the magazine an article on Nolan Ryan, and they had the list of all the guys that he struck out. Gosh. And how many times. And I didn't save that issue, and I wish I would. It was classic to read through that and look at the guys that he struck out and how many times. It was unbelievable. And it was well thought out as far as putting that on paper, because it really jumped out at you. What 5,700 strikeouts really? I mean, this was page after page after page of guys. I mean, these are Hall of Famers that struck out multiple times against Nolan Ryan.
I've got the list.
Yeah.
I've got the list. So the number one was Claudell Washington, 39 strikeouts. Chili Davis, 28. Andre Dawson's third.
Yeah.
At 25.
Those were all recognizable names. As far as when they played, they were considered some of the best in the game.
Yep.
Nolan Ryan never backed down.
Dale Murphy's on here. Dave Parker.
They're all on there.
Jim Rice, Cecil Cooper, Tim Raines. George Brett's got 18 strikeouts against him. So
yeah.
Can you name the other three pitchers who have at least 4,000 strikeouts in their career?
Is Clemens?
Clemens is one. He's third. It's like Family Feud here now. We got number one's Nolan Ryan. Clemens is the third answer, or third. Think of a lefty at number two.
I don't think Randy Johnson had enough years, did he? Randy Johnson?
Randy Johnson's two.
He's
got the second most.
Okay.
He played 22 years.
He did play that long.
Yep.
Okay.
And the fourth and final one is another lefty.
Steve Carlson?
Bingo. Nice work. Those are the four pitchers with 4,000 strikeouts.
Yeah, they'll never touch. And
yeah, Scherzer and Verlander at 12 and 13.
So Nolan Ryan was how many?
5,714.
Number two?
Randy Johnson at 4,875, almost 1,000.
There you go. And nobody pitches like those guys anymore, and they'll never, ever do it. Nobody's ever going to, I don't think anybody's ever going to beat 56, Joe DiMaggio. And I consider those performance related. What Cal Ripken did was great, but I don't consider that performance related, just longevity, keeping yourself healthy, and some of those things. Great accomplishment, but that to me is not one of the greater records in baseball.
And I don't know now if that, with the whole mindset of load management in sports and taking days off and that sort of thing, it's like kind
Never
of
going to happen.
Yeah.
But who cares?
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like, does that limelight kind of faded a little bit on
absolutely.
That because of the whole load management? Well, you got to take an off day sort of thing.
And I think it takes away from the fact that Cal Ripken was a great player. Really a great player. And, his records and his accomplishments kind of get overlooked because of that consecutive game streak, which like I said, that's a tribute to his longevity and his healthfulness, taking care of himself, and all those sorts of things. But I don't consider that one of the top records in sports.
Mm-hmm. I'm just looking at these numbers too, by the way, really quick, for strikeout numbers, the years that these guys played. Everybody in the top 11, I'll say top 11 because Scherzer's 12, but he's got 3,294. Everybody in the top 11 played at least 20 seasons or more.
Yeah.
The one that was at 20 was Tom Seaver, and he's at number 6. Walter Johnson, 21.
And it's not just that they played 20 years or more. It's that they played a lot during. They're not, Verlander and Scherzer have taken time off. Woodruff now, they're not Ironmen. They're not horses like these guys were.
I just sorted it by innings pitched, and I'm like, oh, who's the current active leader in innings pitched right now? Let's see if I can find that one. Because it ain't anybody near the top. Yeah, okay. You ready for this one? They don't have it in order so I can't tell you, but I'll tell you there's a big gap. Okay, maybe not the Cy Young has the most, which we already knew that, right?
Yeah.
7,356 innings pitched. Second was Pud Galvin at 6,003. Walter Johnson's third. Nolan Ryan's actually fifth on this list. The current active leader, though, is actually, I'm just double checking, Zach Greinke.
Yeah, he's pitched a lot of baseball. He really has.
3,339 innings pitched.
Yeah, because he was with Kansas City and, of course, the Brewers and San Diego or wherever he went.
Went with Arizona for a little bit. Yep. Yeah. And he's back in Kansas City. Yep. So, but to put it in perspective, Nolan Ryan had 5,386.
Yep. How many years has Greinke been in the league?
20, I think it is.
Yeah. So he's about
20.
done. So he's about done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, nobody's going to touch Nolan Ryan. It's just not going to happen. I mean, because not only because of, I think, the way they stress their arms with these different pitches and their motions. I mean, look at Nolan Ryan, and he had, Tom Seaver, Nolan Ryan. I look at those guys, and they knew how to pitch. They knew how to use their body. It wasn't their arm, just their arm. They knew how to pitch and take stress off that arm. I mean, you look at Tom Seaver, his knee on his right leg was dirt because he pushed off so hard with that right leg off the mound. He went right down into the dirt, and that's where he got his power, from his hips and his legs. And they don't do that so much anymore. You're just not going to see it. It's just not going to happen. Load management, all these.
They're throwing harder earlier. And,
these logistics that they're using that, fifth or sixth inning, that's a successful start.
Yeah.
Well, Nolan Ryan got mad if you took him out, and everybody, the infamous Jack Morris in the World Series. You're not taking me out after 9, he told Treblehorn. He pitched 10 innings, they won. Those kind of guys aren't around anymore. I think they're around in the mindset, but in the way the game is played now, they're not allowed to show that mindset.
I'd agree with that. Did you have any more receiver defer?
I was just thinking, we were talking about this earlier, but we talked about Montreal. Receiver defer, when Major League Baseball expands, they should go back to Montreal for another team. Since Las Vegas has got that, everybody said, well, Las Vegas be the next team. They got Oakland. But if they expand,
they're going to have to do 2 teams.
Yeah, but Montreal should be one of those teams to get a Major League Baseball franchise again.
Luke was actually talking about this yesterday. The momentum, first of all, the number one is going to be Nashville. But the momentum is Salt Lake City in Utah.
I don't doubt that at all, but I think Montreal should get a team. I don't know.
Would you bring back the old Expos?
Well, I don't know what they would bring back, but, I think Montreal should get a team.
I'm
not saying anything against Salt Lake City and Nashville. That'd be fine, but I think Montreal should be seriously considered.
By the way, I've got, I'll save it for the break, but speaking of Salt Lake City, I found this yesterday about Tiger Woods is developing a course. Did you hear the yardages on that?
I heard just roughly. I didn't hear a lot of it.
You might need more than that wiener putter.
Yeah. I mean, you're going to need a shotgun to get the ball off the tee. But that's that higher air up there. So, yeah.
You've been to Salt Lake, right?
Yeah.
I figured you have. So,
yeah.
Have you been to every state in the in the
No,
50 states?
I think there might be a few out east that I haven't been to if I really looked at it, but otherwise I've been fortunate to attend to go to a lot of our states in the country, and that's what I say. You know, the old Chevrolet commercial, see the USA, it'd be long before you were around, see the USA in your Chevrolet. That was their commercials way back in the 50s and 60s, and I urge people to do the same thing. See the USA.
All right, we got 2 in. We got 1 more to go. Stick around. What's caught our eye? We'll hit that up. Coming up after these news updates.
WAYY Eau Claire, W286CK Eau Claire, Sports Talk 105.1 and 790 AM. From the 715 newsroom, it's Morgan McCarthy with your news on Sports Talk 105.1.
Good morning. Well, here's what we're learning today. An update from the meeting table, and we can now say that there was a vote last night, and the head of Eau Claire County Board is out following an investigation into millions of dollars in misspending at the County Department of Human Services. The county board last night voted to remove Chairman Nick Smara, as the county supervisors say someone had to be held accountable for the $3 million that were misspent or taken from the county's DHS department. Investigators say he knew about the misspending and theft, but never told anyone. No one has been charged in the case. County leaders may not be done, though. They're expected to meet again to possibly remove a county administrator as well. The fire in Washura County is contained but still burning. The State Department of Natural Resources yesterday say firefighters finally got the fire that started Monday under control. Investigators saying that started when someone was burning pallets, though they're not saying when the fire will burn itself out. Crews across Coloma say they'll spend another day at the fire today, as the DNR says folks across Wisconsin should be careful burning this week, despite some steady rains that some parts of Wisconsin is seeing. When it comes to school safety, the tip line is now accepting texts. Attorney General Josh Kaul announced a new text line saying that it will allow students, teachers, and parents to text in tips, just another tool to keep Wisconsin schools safe. Now, the new text line comes after Kaul said last month that he may have to close the tip line entirely. Kaul said if lawmakers didn't add $2 million to the state budget, he'd have to all but close his office of school safety and tip line. Yesterday, Kaul said that remains a possibility. Well, someone is a Mega Millions winner in Plymouth. That's where we go, the cheese capital of the world, and also somebody walking around with some extra cheese in the piggy bank. Wisconsin Lottery yesterday said there was a pick and save on Eastern Avenue that sold $1 million winning ticket this week, matching all 5 of the 6 numbers drawn. Not the first time, actually. That same store has sold $1 million scratch-off ticket back in March. And, a little tired / give me my leg room. You're not alone. Sleep divorce is a thing.
That's when somebody regularly or occasionally sleeps in another room than their partner in order to get some rest without distractions like snoring or alarms. The data came to light in a survey from the American Academy of Sleep Medicine, which found that sleep divorce was most prominent among millennials, 43% of whom said they sleep in different rooms. I'm Michael Kastner.
That's what it's like coming in the studio as well. Casper starts talking and I doze off every once in a while. I'm like, oh.
Distractions like snoring or alarms.
For Sports Talk 105.1, I'm Morgan McCarthy.
High pressure over the region has given way to a dry start for our Thursday morning. That said, throughout the day, do expect a mix of clouds and sunshine. The slight chance for a shower or storm. We'll see temperatures back near average into the low 80s. Tonight, a scattered shower or storm possible, partly cloudy, 62 for the low. And then tomorrow, partly to mostly sunny, a slight shower or storm, 85. I'm Skywarn 13 meteorologist Derek Dahlman.
If you speed, there are lots of sounds that you might hear, like the sound of your vehicle crashing, because eventually speeding catches up with you. Paid for by NHTSA.
Let me ask you something. Did you name your firstborn after a football player?
Hell yes.
Did you spend your honeymoon going to a football game?
Oh, you betcha, yeah.
Do you spend most of your free time hanging out in your man cave?
Yes!
If you answered yes to all the above, then you, my friend, are a serious sports fan just like Dan.
Yes!
This is exactly where you belong. Sports talking and BSing is what we do best.
What? Did we just become best friends? Yep!
So rise and grind, people, because the Dan Kasper Show is on the air.
You serious, Clark?
Right now.
Showtime!
Third and final hour kicking off on this Thursday morning. Appreciate y'all tuning in, however, wherever you may be tuning in from. Coming up at the bottom of the hour, we'll catch up with DNR Warden Jake Bulks answering a couple questions that some of you have sent on over. If you got any last-second ones, hit us up with those texts on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line, 715-830-1912. All right. I got something that's caught my eye that I want to bring up here and have a follow-up question. So, Victor Wembanyama, the number 1 overall pick from the Spurs in the NBA draft, is already out of the summer league. They're shutting him down after 2 games.
Good decision.
He said this about the style of the NBA based off of 2 summer league games. Court is more open, it's going fast, but it's less physical. Comparing the NBA to from Europe play, I get fouled a lot, but not as much. Here, players are just flying around out there. It's more on the ground, pushing on the ground, big box outs. Here, it's great athletes, the best in the world, way more talent, but I like this better, though. So now some people are saying that, well, wait till the regular season starts, and some players might take offense to what he said being not physical and that sort of thing. Do you think that's going to be the case? Do you think there's going to be some players saying, welcome to the NBA, kid, and get a little physical?
I think they'll try, but there'll be those guys that are trying to make a name for himself, like the guy from Memphis this year in the playoffs that badmouth.
Oh, Brooks, yeah.
Badmouth LeBron, and I'm going to take care of this, that, and the other thing. There's always some of that. It's macho, and it's to be expected.
I feel like if this was the 80s or 90s, then there might be a little bit more offense, like the Pistons teams, Bill Laimbeer and those guys, and be like, now you might want to be careful. I really don't think there's going to be a lot of guys be like all upset about. I don't know I don't think there is a physical team like the Pistons bad boys or anything like that.
No, not anything like the Pistons, that's for sure. And I'm sure the officials are going to be told, these guys are just Chet Holmgren, big 7'4" guy that's going to be playing in Oklahoma City, and Wembanyama, or however you say Wembanyama, down in San Antonio. These guys are going to be watched by a lot of people, or want to be watched by a lot of people. They don't want to see them on the bench. They don't want them hurt, and so there may be more flagrant fouls called against guys that foul these guys if they do it. They're always going to be guys that want to make their mark, so to speak, against a guy like that. He's going to get pushed around. There's no question about that. It's going to be physical, but I don't think it's going to be outlandish by any means.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I know, like Luka Doncic, when he was first coming out, he said that scoring in the NBA is easier than it is in the EuroLeague because of the different rules. Specifically, there is no 3-second violation rule for standing inside the paint. Do you think the NBA should adapt more European-style rules to make it, quote, harder, more difficult?
I don't know the European game and the rules that much. I know the lane is different. It's kind of, not straight lines. It's kind of an angled line. And I don't really know the rules that much of how different they are in Europe. I know they are different to a certain extent.
My question would be, would the officials even enforce them that?
Well, that's true.
Yeah, to that level.
Yeah, and if they did that, if they let these guys stand in the lane, that means this Wembanyama, how did he say his name?
Victor Wembanyama.
Wembanyama, yeah. That means he'd be even more effective if he could hang in there and they throw the ball into this guy 7'5" because he's pretty darn handy. Chet Holmgren, I don't know if he's that kind of a player that could stay in the lane that long, and what he could do with the ball. He's a ball handler and a jump shooter more than this kid in San Diego. And I think this kid could make a big difference if they used European rules and didn't have a 3-second call. I think he would really make hay in the middle.
Yeah.
And it would bring back the importance of the pivot too.
Ooh. Gosh, I just had flashbacks of all my coaches. Pivot, and you just stand there, all the drills and moving around and pivot and high, low.
But that man in the middle would get a lot more emphasis.
I would love if the man in the middle got more emphasis. Going back to the good. I don't think they'll get as big as they were in the 90s.
I mean, in the NBA, there's a 3-second call on defense, not just offense.
Right.
So, if they take it off on offense, they take it off on defense too. So you can park a guy right in the middle of the lane. You park some of these guys in the middle of the lane. That makes a lot of difference because they're there when Tatum or Giannis or these guys are driving from the outside. This guy's already established. I think you're going to see a lot more offensive fouls if you do something like that.
Mm-hmm. Before we get to Jake here, I mean, because you have been a vocal opponent about hear anything about the congressional meetings that they had a couple days ago.
I know they were going to meet, but I didn't hear the results.
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of. I guess the biggest things to kind of come out of was some of the emails that came out, like some of the proposals back and forth with thing was that one proposal was, which to me was kind of weird, that if they didn't know about it, they're being a part of negotiations. Tiger and Rory would have owned a couple of live teams as part of it.
Rory is not a fan of live in any way, shape, or form.
Apparently,
I don't think he'd want to, from with the outward appearance, he doesn't want anything to do with live.
Well, he met with this also came out of it that he actually met with whoever the prince is or something like that.
Yeah.
They found out in November.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Now it was more of a from Rory's representatives, I'm paraphrasing everything, to kind of unite the game of golf, not to necessarily go and join live or anything like that. But he did apparently meet them in November. One of them apparently, with this whole back and forth is like the PGA is apparently adamant they want Greg Norman gone. Like they don't even want him around, and the live one has been reluctant yet to do that. But they just, part of the negotiations, they want Norman out of it, completely out of it.
Well, I've talked to people that have had relationships with Norman, and he's not the most well-liked person. I mean, some of the stories you got when he was married to Chrissy Everett, the tennis player, he didn't come out as a real knight in shining armor. So I think there are a lot of people that don't like him for whatever reason. I have no relationship with him, don't know anything about him, just from what I've read and heard people talking about. He's not the most well-liked guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's and apparently too, and again, I'm just kind of paraphrasing a lot of this stuff, but it's like the PGA kind of admits saying, yeah, we kind of dropped the ball and like revealing this. They thought they were kind of doing a softball release, going to like CNBC and all that. And I'm like, it's flipping 2023. It doesn't matter where you're going to go. You make an announcement like that, it's going to spread like wildfire.
Absolutely. Monahan is really on the hot seat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there was an email that McElroy met with this Al Ramanyam in Dubai. He said it was someone in the email said it was a very cordial and constructive meeting. His Excellency has great ambitions to support, grow, and modernize the sport, and is clearly well equipped to fund these goals. He has been frustrated by his inability to engage constructively with the PGA. Rory made it clear that in accepting the meeting, he was speaking only for himself, although he believes his views are broadly shared by Tiger and other top players. He also emphasized he was seeking no personal financial gain, simply trying to unify the game. So
I think golf better watch out.
Mm-hmm.
I really do. I think golf better watch out, because if you talk about the NFL and we talk about the Brewers, $12 a bottle of beer and this, that, and the other thing, that pales in comparison to what some of the money talk and who is supplying that money. The Saudis are cutthroat regime over there. I mean, let's face it, some of the things they've done, Khashoggi and on and on and on, and the civil liberties they do not give women, especially in their country. Golf better be careful. If they're going to tie their wagon to that horse, there could be some massive ramifications about people really. I mean, people love to watch these guys play golf because they're just so good at it. But is there a tipping point? I won't say there is, but I think it's at least something that's being talked about. They better be careful.
Part of it was too, one of these key figures of this PIF fund. One of them apparently was he would get a membership to Augusta National. That was part of the proposal. That's how we're giving away Masters and Augusta National memberships as part of this thing here too.
No, I don't know what because the Masters is a separate entity unto themselves.
Yeah.
And they, and it's a money game, but Augusta National seems like they've got all the money in the world because it's their tournament, and they goes without sponsors, without commercials in the middle of their broadcast. That's revenue. And they sell, I've never been there, but they sell cheese sandwich for, I don't know, a couple bucks, things like that. Now, if you're going to buy Masters and Augusta paraphernalia, that's a different story. But still in all, I never heard that the Masters has signed on to this, been involved in any kind of negotiation whatsoever to give anybody a membership like that. And I don't know if the Masters wants to be associated with the Saudi regime, part of this whole thing, by gift or whatever it is away to someone like that.
Yeah, I don't know, but that was one of them that the governor of this fund or whatever would have, one of the proposals, he'd get a membership at Augusta. So
I wonder if that's been cleared by Augusta.
That's the thing, is like, who knows, because obviously they are very secretive in a lot of stuff, so probably not.
And I don't think Augusta, they're letting the past champions come in at their LIV, but I don't know if Augusta wants to be tied to that regime.
Mm-hmm. I don't know, but
I just think golf better be careful.
Yeah, because they're talking. I don't know how this is gonna. I don't think we have a clear view of what what it's gonna look like.
No, I don't. I don't think we know the whole ramifications of this first deal that they announced that day.
Yeah, and apparently it's not even a deal. It's just like parameters they said now.
Yeah, so who knows where they're at? But I just think they better be careful moving forward, because it's really coming under scrutiny, and you get Congress involved, and they can change your tax status from whatever the PGA has now.
Isn't it kind of weird? Like, I know we had this question from one of our listeners earlier in the week, and when he asked this, and I'm assuming he's referring to maybe like joining the Big Four, but they asked, is golf a major sport now? And I guess, I'm assuming he's referring to, like, when you say the major, you're referring to like the top four, the NFL, the NBA, NHL, and all that. But I think a lot of people kind of forget too, and I'm guilty of this too. Like, PGA is quote unquote a nonprofit.
That's what I mean. Congress gets involved and deals with their tax status, then they got some real challenges going forward. But I think, I think it is. I think it is. That's the fifth major sport. I don't think anything else. I mean, it's sure not soccer at this point. Whether that may happen.
And you're talking just in the United States.
Yeah. But I just think that golf is in the top five. I mean, all these tournaments, they get national attention. They change programming on the networks when one of the four majors.
Well, Wimbledon's going on right now. How many people are talking about Wimbledon?
Yeah, they're watching it. NBC's carrying it, or ESPN, or whoever's carrying it, and you can get it early in the morning. This, that, and the other thing. And tennis is a major sport, but
that's a major.
Yeah, especially in the United States, I wouldn't consider tennis a major sport. Like they're saying now, we don't have any up and coming stars, especially on the men's side, because everybody's turning their tennis courts into pickleball courts. So that, what does that say about tennis and the draw tennis has for young players? It's not like it used to be. We used to have, some of the top, you had 5 or 6 top men in the world. Usually at least a couple of them were Americans. That's been a long time. A long time.
I remember I was a kid and I didn't play tennis, but I watched it because of Andre Agassi and Pete Sampras.
Yeah.
Those two were at the top of the game.
Yeah, you had McEnroe, and you had, on and on and on. You had all these players that aren't there anymore. And so, but I think golf is looking at a tipping point right now, I think, with this whole situation, because it sure appears that they don't know how to handle it. I mean, they're just the Saudis, $620 billion they want to throw at sports. And how much of that they're going to throw at golf? Well, the PGA can't compare to that in any way, shape, or form.
What was it tell you that they can, like, they were going to reward, the people who stayed with the PGA, with the financial sum? It's like they can just write whatever they want. Give, like, hey, you Tiger, we're combining. Here's a $20 million. Do whatever you want with it.
And Tiger's in kind of catbird seat because he's not playing. He can't play. But if he endorses Live, that changes the whole thing.
Oh gosh, yeah.
It changes the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I think his standing in the sports world and the golf world would go in the tank.
Mm-hmm.
You know, same thing with Rory, because you know, you look at Brooks Koepka and Dustin Johnson, and
well, heck, Phil Mickelson's stock.
Phil Mickelson his legacy has changed dramatically.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I just think Tiger doesn't gamble like Phil. I mean, this bailed Phil Mickelson out from some huge losses that he was reportedly, quote unquote, taking from his gambling.
Yep.
But his legacy has changed dramatically going forward.
Mm-hmm. It has. It definitely has.
And I just think golf is on the edge.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. I love to watch these guys. I appreciate their talent, but I think golf is on the edge.
So I was kind of telling you about this Tiger Woods, and I know this. I just saw this from Golf Digest a couple days ago, but it's in Salt Lake City. You've got here's some of the hole lengths here. Intern, you might need to upgrade your equipment here a little bit. It's an 8,000 yard course.
Update my equipment if I was playing out here in Gulf Road at the par 3.
It's an 8,000 yard course.
Wow.
8,000, which includes, let me bring up the scorecard here. See if I can zoom in on this thing. It includes a 700 yard par 5, 702 yard par 5 on that thing.
You're not reaching that in 2.
And nearly a 300 yard par 3.
Wow. Now that to me is, I don't know, outrageous is the right word, but it's less consumer friendly than the 700 yard par 5. 300 yard par 3, that's just absolutely unfair. A regular person wouldn't have any fun playing that.
There's other holes here too that I want to bring up because, and I know this was a couple days ago too, but there's like par 4s that are over there's a few holes that are over 600 yards too on this thing. You know, you get the 700 one in there, but there's actually a couple holes on there that are over 600 yards on there too.
Wow.
I mean, yeah, I'd be intimidated as all get out playing that course.
You'd have 5 groups on one hole. We have a group putting and a group, waiting to chip and hit their second shot, a group on the tee, and they'd all be able to hit. I mean, that's unbelievable.
Each par 5 would measure more than 600 yards.
Now, the elevated atmosphere out there would play a difference, but I don't know if it would play that much difference.
No. I mean,
you'd run. I'll tell you one thing: you better have, if you got a gas cart, you better have a full tank of gas, or you better have a full charger electric cart to get around.
If you don't hit your big dog, or if you're one that keeps the driver in the bag, it's going to take you a little bit to finish some of these holes. I'm just saying, you might want to work on your driving or your driver before hitting up Marcella.
Well, I'll tell you, if you're playing a course like that on a regular basis and you can play scratch golf, man, you're awful good. Because, man, oh, man, just think of the handicap. It's going to go way up. I'd like to play, play on that course and have my handicap and then go around the country with my handicap from that course and use it in some of these amateur tournaments that are handicapped. And, golly, that's a long course.
I mean, but is this the future? New courses going to be going up to 8,000 with the gear and clubs and the DeChambeaus and
not
all
for
that?
the average person. I mean, if this is a specialized course for tournament play, but I mean, it wouldn't be fun for the average person because you'd never get a par. I mean, the average person would never par that par 3. It just wouldn't happen. It'd be just the luckiest thing in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And the par 5s, I got my third shot into the par 5. I think I got a 5 iron. Well, that's not fun to play. I mean, because you never get a feeling of accomplishment playing something like that.
So I did a quick search on the longest courses in America right now. And I think Luke he was kind of joking yesterday when I was trying to find where this course was. He's like, it's probably like Indiana. Well, actually, French Lick, Indiana has one. It's 8,102 yards. French Lick, Indiana. It's the French Lick Resort 8,102 yards. Big Sky, 8,000 yards.
That sounds like
reserve.
Montana.
Yep, the reserve over there. We got Antler Creek in Colorado. Again, elevation, right? 8,058. This Alabama, the Fighting Joe course at the Shoals. And another one, Ross Bridge over there too. So we got a few that are over 8,000. But
I don't know where the
I
fun
couldn't
would
even
be.
tell you the longest course I've played off.
Yeah, I don't know, but I don't know what the fun would be playing those because just
chicks dig the long ball intern. Not just baseball, but in golf.
Yeah, I know they do, but boy, oh boy, that would be for the average player. That would be frustrating.
Here you go. Here's one. This was from December of 2022. This article from Sports Illustrated. 8,463 yards from the tips. 2 700-yard par fives. North America's longest course. And it's in Colorado. 2 700-yard holes.
Yeah, I like people that have played it and whether they've enjoyed it. All you can say is, boy, it's a wide open spaces because I'll tell you, out there, I'm sure they don't have a lot of trees on the course, but still, how much fun is that?
Almost 8,500 total yards.
That's a lot of yards to cover.
Greenskeepers are going to be full staffed over there too.
Wow, yeah, I'd like to mow fairways.
Right.
Like some of these big wheat fields, you go one direction in the morning and turn around and come back the next way in the afternoon.
Is it so this is Rain Dance National Resort and Golf. It was actually developed in a collaboration with Fred Funk. And
ironically, one of the shortest hitters ever on the PGA Tour.
Former Arnold Palmer design star Harrison Minshew and a Colorado land developer. Okay. Well, feels like a lot of these golfers now are like kind of because Jack Nicklaus, you got he's designed Tigers, designed courses and all that. But
oh yeah, a lot of them have been into course design, but I don't know. I'd like to play a course where I've got a chance.
Well, that's a few far in between.
But I mean, when you're standing on the tee and you got a 500-yard, 550-yard par five. All right, I got a chance. I par, maybe make a birdie with a few good shots. But 700 yards, that's just mauling the ball. That's not. There's
That's what
no
the kids
finesse.
are doing these days, though, man.
Well,
you got these high schoolers who are driving over 330 yards off the tee right away. Then you hit another one off the deck. Nobody wants to. They're proofing these courses so you can't eagle par fives or birdie par fives anymore.
Well, I mean, that's what it is. 330 yards off the tee. Then you go off the deck, you're still not home.
No. Hey, work on the short game. Got to get greens in regulation.
That's right. Learn how to putt.
Get those gap wedges and approach wedges and, work on that.
Yeah. But, I mean, I they want to design them fine. I'm sure they're going to get a lot of players playing them, but not for me. It's just too long.
You want to try it if you got a free round?
Or try it for a free round, but I sure wouldn't.
Wouldn't make it your home course,
wouldn't
right?
make it my home course. No, heavily no.
No. Yeah, if you're not a long
I'd play
ball
any
hitter,
golf course if I had a free round.
I'd be curious too, how tight the fairways would be.
Yeah.
On it. But if it's tight fairways and
Impossible.
my slice, oh, good Lord in heaven, that's going to be a long day for me.
Well, even the pros, you look at the way they play in these tournaments. You looked at the guys that played that at Century World in the Senior Open. That rough was, like they said, this is like playing a U.S. Open, not a U.S. Senior Open.
Mm-hmm.
And these guys are still at that age. They're still really, really, really good golfers.
Bernard Longer is in his mid-60s.
Because he hit just about every fairway.
Mm-hmm.
Not the longest, but he had to play off the shortest grass. That's what I said, that the greatest line I ever heard in golf was the guy that went to play the Masters. He went to practice round. He took a local caddy out there on the first tee. He'd never seen the course before. And on the first tee, he asked the caddy, where should I hit it on this hole? He said, hit it where they mow. You hit it where they mow, you got a chance. You hit it in that grass that's 3, 4, 5 inches thick, you're out of luck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You can't, you get it 330 yards. If you're not on the short grass, you aren't making it.
Yep. Bernard Longer, though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Still playing strong.
Yep.
Most wins now, I think. Extended his record.
He broke the record of Hale Irwin at the
Hale
Century
Irwin,
World.
that's right. Yep. There's another name for you.
46, yeah.
Yeah.
So
receiver to first, Steve Stricker's going to end up breaking that.
Oh, defer. He doesn't play enough.
You don't think so?
Steve's
in his early 50s?
Yeah, I don't think he's more into golf management, and I think he's going to play a lot, and he's always in the hunt, it seems like. But I don't think he's got his sights set on that at all.
I want to see where's the list here. Hale, yep, second. Bernard, Lee Trevino is actually third.
Yeah, Lee Trevino won a lot out there on that senior tour when he first went out.
Steve Stricker's got 15 wins, so he's got to
win over 32 wins to break that record now.
Yeah, Freddie Couples is tied with him up there too. So,
well, I think he'll surpass Freddie Couples. Freddie's about done, but I don't think Steve has any plan at all.
Chichi Rodriguez is up there with 22.
Yep.
Man, there's some good names on here.
A lot of fun guys to follow.
Gosh, it makes me feel even old now seeing some of these guys because that's who I grew up watching some of these.
Mm-hmm.
Jack Nicklaus and Arnold Palmer have 10 wins on the senior.
It was never an emphasis for those guys. It's like Tiger.
Mm-hmm.
They were focused on the majors. That they weren't trying to make a name for himself. Those two guys were helping establish that tour is what it amounted to.
Mm-hmm.
Nicklaus, because I don't think
Gary Player's got 22 wins on there.
Yeah, and those guys were out there to play in the PGA. This was just a chance for them to continue, keep their game sharp, and to help establish this tour, which I think they did. I think the senior PGA Tour is a lot of fun to watch now with more of these guys that we grew up with playing on the PGA Tour as they age out of the PGA. Then it gets to be the fact that you know these names.
Mm-hmm.
They're not just club professionals that qualified and managed to get their card out there. These are guys that have won a lot of majors, and they're playing pretty good golf still. So I think the PGA Champions Tour is doing well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and they're talking about that as far as LIV too. What kind of effect LIV would have on the PGA Champions Tour, if any? But it's been in the conversation, and I don't know how that would work.
Mm-hmm. All right, we got to take a quick break, and then we'll catch up with Jake for a quick outdoor tidbits after these few words.
The Dan Kasper Show will be right back.
Get ready to save with half-off deals. A great way for you to get goods and services that you will love and you don't have to pay full price. Be sure to check out all the great savings that half-off deals have to offer. There's something for everyone, so be sure to see for yourself. Be ready with your credit or debit card and get ready to save. For more details and to find out about all the savings, just go to aroundthe715.com.
I'm going to be honest with you. I'm no Bob Vila or even Tim the Toolman Taylor. So when it comes to home improvement projects, I'm comfortable in admitting that I'm not the smartest tool in the shed. That's why when it comes to big home projects, I need someone I can trust to complete these projects for me and do a job well done. That's why I fully trust the team at Carpet City Flooring Center. See, we've got some big flooring projects coming up for our home. I wouldn't even know where to begin with the whole process if it wasn't for everyone at Carpet City Flooring Center. They're helping me pick out the flooring that looks best in our home, fits in our budget, and they're doing the measuring because me and math don't get along, and of course, professionally installing it. No poor looking floors like some of the floors in my home already look like because of the previous owners. So if you are just like me and you need just a little or a lot of help when it comes to your flooring projects, don't stress it. Make it easier on yourself and visit the good people at Carpet City Flooring Center in Eau Claire. They're located at 3109 East Hamilton Avenue.
Reach your financial goals with Royal Credit Union. Whether you're borrowing or saving, Royal is here to help put your goals within reach. When you choose Royal Credit Union, you're getting great rates and a financial partner that you can grow with. From savings and checking accounts to vehicle and home loans, Royal offers the financial solutions you need and the advice you can trust. Learn how Royal Credit Union can help with your financial goals and open your account today at rcu.org/financial goals. Insured by NCUA. Loan subject to credit approval.
ServiceMaster of Chippewa Valley is your local expert when it comes to fire and water damage, carpet and air duct cleaning, mold remediation, and trauma. They're when you need them 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Trust comes in the yellow truck. Learn more at ServiceMasterChippewaValley.com.
Voice Guy here, bumping into your programming to remind you to subscribe to the Man Cave Podcast. New episodes uploaded daily, and it's available on your favorite podcasting platform. Now back to your regularly scheduled programming. Answering your questions and giving you the tips you need to be successful and safe in the outdoors. It's time for your Outdoor Tidbits. Have a question you'd like answered by Jake? Send it to us, and we'll ask for you.
Time for Outdoor Tidbits with Mr. Jake Boakes joining us here this morning. How you doing, bud? Good to hear from you.
Oh, I'm doing good. Yeah, another good morning.
Absolutely. Hey, did you have a good 4th of July? Was it pretty safe for you guys and everything?
But overall, it was good and safe round.
That's good. Hey, we had actually a couple questions. This goes back to last week here too, but somebody else brought it up here for this week, and I think we've talked about it in the past a little bit. But bow fishing, is there any? Before we kind of get into a specific, but is there any like special license for bow fishing or anything like that out there? Okay. Okay. So with that, is there a certain species that you could target, or is there certain species that maybe you can't target while bow fishing?
The bigger, the better.
Okay. Now, like for limits and that, would it be the same for just regular fishing for that? Jake, do you need lights on like a kayak or a canoe or anything like that? Hmm. So essentially, the red and green for anybody lights is if you have a motor on your boat, correct? Did you have any quick intern? Did you want to jump in?
Not specific. I was going to ask about something else. But
Go for it.
ahead.
No, go for it.
No, Jake, you mentioned these rough fish, the carp and this, that, and the other thing. And I know there was a concern with these carp maybe getting into the Great Lakes coming up. And have you got an update on that? I know it's not necessarily in your local purview here, but I mean, it was really been a concern about coming out of Illinois and up the river, Illinois River into Lake Michigan. We got an update on that because those things could really devastate the fish population.
So
Because
the key would be just to. Oh, go ahead.
Because I've seen pictures, videos of those fish jumping, actually knocking people right out of their boats. They're dangerous.
Right. Yeah, no, they're definitely something that we don't want in the waters up here. So I'll definitely look into it, and I'll come back, when we talk one of these times and let you know. At last I heard, there might be, I think like the Minnesota DNR was shocking for some up somewhere along the Minnesota area, but I haven't seen or heard anything from our wardens saying like we got a bunch of them in this area or anything like that.
And hopefully they don't make it, but that'll be good. Yeah, we appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have a really big electric, like some sort of electric barrier that's preventing them from getting into the Great Lakes, and I guess it's pretty it's working pretty well, but you never know how nature might work or how if someone brings one fish to one area above that, what it could do.
Mm-hmm. Jake, I know it's probably a few weeks away yet here, but to kind of wrap things up, we've got probably I believe in a couple weeks here the antlerless tags going to be going on sale for bow hunting or for deer hunting.
Yeah, it's usually the second or third week in August.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they have released yet when those dates are going to be. I just haven't checked into it if they have. But it's usually the second, third week in August, and it goes by zone. So you're definitely going to want to make sure you're looking at where you're hunting and where where there's public tags, where there's where there's public, where there's private, how many, and whatnot, and start buying those right away because, again, in some areas there might only be 200 public land antlerless tags or 500, and those can go in a couple of hours.
Jake, this elk hunt, I know we just awarded 4 licenses, and the herds in Black River and up at Clam Lake seem to be doing pretty well. What is, and I don't know if they make this known to you guys, what is the formula for maybe increasing the number of elk tags that could be going around to shoot bull elk in Wisconsin? I know it's at 4 right now.
Yeah, I'm not sure on what the formula is, but based off just like all of our other species, it's just going to be, quantity. So based off how many there are, well, they'll use that. Basically, I know they use something in the effect of how many there are, the health of the current herd, and then the reproductive ability and success rate of the herd. And they take all those numbers into effect to find what would be like a safe harvest number. And, it's 4 for like state residents. Goes out, one goes to the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation. They auction that off. And then the other 5, the other half go to the tribal members. Whether they decide to harvest them or not, that's to them.
Same question as far as turkeys. I mean, when they started turkeys, I know they've expanded it.
Yep.
But man, there are a lot of. Where was I in town? And there were
I didn't see any when I was hunting. So
Well, you got to stay in town. That's where they all are. But again, how much do they modify the number of turkey permits?
So I haven't seen like a huge. I think it's usually a couple hundred permits, like up or down every. But like it would be the same exact kind of. I don't, like I said, I don't know the exact formula, but it's the same. Like they take the totality of everything. They take the harvest numbers. They take their not expected, but their estimated herd count or population count or species count, and then they put all of those numbers into their formula and kind of decide, well, do we want to reduce it? Do we want to maintain it? Do we want to increase it? And depending on what they view as the logical way to manage them, they'll decide whether they can add more permits or they need to decrease permits and stuff like that. That's how the turkey, I assume, like if we're going to have more elk in the future, we just have to, I think it's just going to be a waiting game of letting those herds get bigger and bigger, and then they might open it up to 1, 2, 3 more. But then I'm sure there's some discussion on if that extra tag or two goes to, the state residents or the tribal members and stuff like that. I've seen it with bear recently. There's been a lot of talk about bear, but they've been, steadily increasing bear permits. One, to give more people opportunity to hunt, but, the bear population is doing really well. So, they can open up more permits to more hunters because of the increased population.
All right, JK, appreciate the time as always, buddy. You have a good rest of your week, and we'll catch up with you next week, bud.
Yeah, you guys too. Always great talking with you. Thanks for having me.
You got it. There you go. There's Conservation Warden Jake Bulks joining us here this morning. Before we go to break, this was a text from Mitch. What if we see a live and a PGA like NFC and AFC end of the year? The top players from each play for the, quote, Tiger Cup.
I don't know.
It's almost like a Ryder Cup kind of format-ish there.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think right now it's really in a state of flux, not only for the people that are trying to figure it out, but for the fans as well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, do you root for these guys? Do you not root for these guys? Golf is in a mess, I think.
I don't know how it's going to look.
I don't either. I don't either. I don't think they do either.
Mm-mm.
And when you get Congress involved, you've really screwed up. You really have, because those are the last people you want to help solve your problem, because they can't solve the ones they got now.
All right, let's take our final break here this morning, and we'll wrap things up. No baseball yet tonight, but they're at Carson Park. They've got some games going on. Taking on Bismarck. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Well, as we open up the program we're with intern, if you got nothing going on tonight, so you can either go to Carson Park and check out the Express taking on Bismarck, or the Northern Wisconsin State Fair because it's the
Meat animal
animals
auction.
auction over there.
Buy
So
lambs, hogs, or beef, steers, and like I said, if you got a small business, you're always looking for Christmas presents for your staff. Go up and buy an animal, have it processed, and give your workers some nice packages of meat, be it pork or lamb or hamburger, steaks, roast, whatever the case may be. Give it to them in August. What's the difference when you give them a Christmas present?
is this kind of the kickoff to like county fairs
Yep,
and all that?
yep. We got Trempealeau County this week. There's a fair over in Portage County, and then next week we got all kinds of fairs, and it goes till probably the middle towards the end of August. The state fair will be coming up I think it starts the 3rd of August down at West Allis. So, and of course the Great Minnesota Get Together over Labor Day, and it's it's a fun time of the year.
How much fair food have you divulged?
I'm on a diet.
That's right. You're on that water kick. Right? What's in your cup right now?
It's a diet. Well, just water.
Okay, that's what I haven't seen you with a coffee cup that much. That's
No,
why I was a little...
no, it's water. No. Lost
Well, good for
13
you.
pounds in 2 weeks.
No, you really?
Yeah, over 13 pounds in 2 weeks.
Oh, I might have to talk
I've
to
eaten
you.
I've eaten more vegetables in the last 2 weeks than I've eaten in my whole life.
Just pretty much veggies straight
Well,
up? Or...
no, it's protein, meat. I had a little steak the other night. You can have chicken and fish and things like that. It's just all a matter of how you prepare them and, matching protein and
Staying
carbohydrates.
committed.
And stay committed. And
I can't do that.
I
so
fell off a little bit last night at the fair. I had a few, I was just hungry at a bear. So, there aren't not many diet foods at the fair, that's for sure. So I had a few popcorn shrimp, and I did have one beer. So I got to get back on it today. But no, I'm, you get to the point where, you get a t-shirt that's an extra large and it's tight, and you think, man, that's not the way I never was overweight as a kid. And so I trying to do something about it, and so far so good.
Well, good for you, man. Good for you. You have more. I couldn't do that during fair season.
Well, it's tough.
I know.
I know. I should have waited until about Labor Day to start.
Yeah.
But,
well, then you got football season, so there's more
that's
excuses
true,
for you to come through again.
But we're going for it.
Attaboy. Well, good for you, man. So, baseball season will kick back up tomorrow. No games today. Again, last day for the All-Star break. So we've got that Brewers and Reds series. Twins taking on the Oakland Athletics. But this could be big. You Brewers kick up here with Cincinnati, but after that you got Philadelphia, who's also in a race for a playoff spot. Then Atlanta, then Cincinnati again, then Atlanta again to finish off July. Got a game against Washington to start that series. But first couple weeks here of this quote second half, some tough games for the Brewers to kick off.
Really is, and I think this series against Cincinnati will set the tone for the whole second half.
Mm-hmm.
It's only 3 games, but still, just the momentum, and you're done with Cincinnati pretty much, but still in all, they're probably going to be the team that you got to work with. Try and beat them. You got to beat scoreboard. I don't think you don't go scoreboard watching yet, but still in all, it's probably the Brewers and the Reds for that division.
Well, especially since you won't play them anymore after this month, you got to try to win as many games as possible against this team.
Yep, head-to-head is the best measure.
So got to get it done, got to win these series, because otherwise, as you kind of mentioned, you're going to be scoreboard watching and relying on other teams to do some work for you instead of taking care of your own business.
And the Brewers showed they can beat the Reds. They did in the series just wrapped up before the All-Star break in Milwaukee.
Yep, 1-0. But thank goodness Wade Miley put on a jump.
Yep,
just because one run was enough for that game. But man, and that's another thing too, is like in the second, for this year, kind of quote going forward or being active, you're getting Wade Miley like from the 2018 version again. Take advantage of a Wade Miley having a good year.
Receiver to first, the Brewers hadn't traded Josh Hader, and again, ifs and buts were candy and nuts. But if they hadn't traded Josh Hader, the Brewers right now would be 4 games ahead in the division.
So assuming they'd have Hader for this year?
Yeah.
I might defer that.
I won't. I'll receive it because I think Hader's the last guy. Drew Williams comes in earlier in the game.
Devin Williams,
I'm sorry. And some of these other guys that have been less than stellar out of the bullpen wouldn't have as many innings in.
Yeah, you'd have a trickle-down effect.
Yeah, and I think Hader would make the difference. I think the Brewers would be about 4 games ahead right now. Because it's not just, Williams is he blew a save against the Cubs, or was it Cincinnati in the last week or so? he blew that save. But, you know, I think the whole pitching rotation and the bullpen changes dramatically if Hader's there.
Mm-hmm.
Williams can come in and maybe 7th or 8th. And, you know, I just think Hader would be a difference of about 5 games so far.
Yeah. Did you watch the ESPYs at all yesterday?
No.
I didn't watch it. We got the Dandies coming up tomorrow, so you might.
Oh, that's much more important
It
than
is.
the ESPYs.
Mhm.
That's right.
Yep.
Do I need to
Exactly.
get any kind of a reception speech prepared?
No, I'll give away one award. You didn't win anything. You didn't come close.
I didn't even qualify.
Nope, you didn't. But Drew Holiday did win an award last night. Him and his wife received the Muhammad Ali Sports Humanitarian of the Year award.
Good. Got
that over.
Receiver to Fur, did the Bucks give too much to Middleton?
Based off of what markets say, it's a no yes for me. You know what I'm trying to get at? Based off market, no, but personally, as a fan, yes, sort of thing. If you get where I'm getting at.
Yeah,
although they paid less for Jay Crowder. Jay Crowder just got the league minimum.
He did.
Yeah.
He stayed in Milwaukee.
Mm-hmm. That surprised me.
Yeah, it did. I'm surprised. There must be something in his DNA that teams don't want to be part of.
I don't know.
Because I think he's got some talent and some opportunity to help a team, and I hope it's the Bucks.
Yeah.
What does that do for Lopez?
Well, he's already signed up.
Oh, he did.
Yep.
See, I've been behind the 8 ball here.
And they brought back his brother too.
Oh, they did.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, they should be in pretty good shape for big men then.
Yeah, and then they got Malik Beasley to come off the bench. He led the league, I think, the most 3-point shot attempts. He played a couple years for the T-Wolves over there. Was with the Lakers last year. So right now, I think the biggest need is probably a veteran backup point guard.
Yeah, I think so.
On our roster. So, but yeah.
So who left the Bucks then?
Joe Ingles.
Okay.
He signed a 2-year, $22 million deal with Orlando, $11 million per year. So. And then Carter, their backup point guard, signed a huge deal with Chicago. So
yeah, I knew that.
But yeah, Carter league minimum, and that's a little over $2 million just for the year.
Wow, that's a bargain.
I think so. So I like that signing even more. I was glad he was back, but now I even like it more for that. So
and I like Middleton, but boy, is he clutch? And you got to have a guy that's clutch when you get into the playoffs. You really do. And I hope it's been his health that's held him back the last 3 or 4 years. But I don't know. He's got some things to prove to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll see. But Marjan Beauchamp's looked pretty good in summer league.
Yeah, he has.
Hopefully he's going to have to be counted on to be a big time contributor this year. Even the rookie Andre Jackson Jr. has looked pretty solid.
They've got some upside.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, you have fun
we're
tonight.
to open 2 bottles of wine next Thursday. We forgot. Got so busy.
I blame you. Playing solitaire.
I've been blamed for worse.
All right. Hey, we'll be back at it again tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. next. We'll see you tomorrow.